Hey, True Believers England team here. So this changed. I was going to join in with Dalton and Dom, and we were going to do our talk. I've been out all day, so I didn't see until I just checked our sports ball and comics that Jim Shooter just died. Now I'm still waiting for Dom. I'm still waiting for Dalton to join in. I literally just saw this. I saw it. Thank you very much. It was Jay who shared it out. Jim Shooter's passed. And then, of course, some things were shared. I just put in a thing. Let's talk about this. No. So yeah, we're going to change the show tonight. I can't, we'll do the review, and I know I've pushed it back and I've pushed it back. We're going to do the review, but eventually, but this is big. This is bigger. This is something I think affects everybody. It affects all comic book fans, including you, Dalton. Hello, Dalton. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I did not know that Jim Shooter died. Dang.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't think he's ever touched much that's in my purview.
Yeah,
but that still sucks.
Yeah, he did. He was Marvel in the 80s. So there was some Doctor Strange, there was some Defenders, there was some stuff that got.
I don't think I've ever run across him in a pure Doctor Strange book. He might have done Defenders, but I don't think
maybe.
I don't think he ever did a mainline Doctor Strange book, because in the 80s that would have been Roger Stern's area in the 80s.
Wow. Give me just a second here, please, as I'm going to try to change everything around. Did you get a chance to read Fallen Angel?
I skimmed through it.
You skimmed it?
Yeah.
I often I read right before we go on, and also, so I did that. I'm just kind of stalling while I'm going to see if I can't edit this. Wow. Okay, so look, you got your major players. Everybody knows Stan Lee, Jack Kirby. Jim Shooter is not a mainstream guy. He's not somebody who all the MCU lovers knows about. He's not that dude. He's the one that
he doesn't have any wow storylines, I think, is the problem.
Oh yeah, he's got secret wars, dude.
he's the guy who showed up to do the work when anyone needed work done. Seems to be the vibe. Okay, hold on just a second. Since we had to shift, and I'm trying to think of things, give me just a second to get my thoughts here. As I'm also, by the way, going to edit everything, and we're going to talk about this. I sent the message to the guys. I'm hoping Eric and would definitely jump in. But yeah, so just give me just a second here to adjust everything. Okay. And I'm stealing somebody's thumbnail from a few months ago. Just because, this is literally, I just discovered this as we were about to start. We were about to start doing our weekly show. That hasn't been for the last 2 weeks because scheduling conflict.
Well, last week I had to have an auction. That we were about to get booted from our.
You got to pay the rent somehow.
Yeah. So we had to do that. Wow. I don't know. I don't know if putting RIP across a picture like this is classless or not. I don't have any kind of sense of that kind of thing. There we go. Alrighty, and boom. Let me get. I'm just trying to change things around here. So how was your day? I'm gonna. Okay, so, God damn it. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna change the title to. RDV, come on in, man. I need somebody to bounce off of here. All right. Yeah, this is not what you're reading anymore. So.
No.
Yeah. All right.
It got switched around to the last second because apparently what you're reading just can't catch a break.
Well, this is big, man. I didn't mean to do this. Gosh darn it. Alrighty. I'm sorry, but I'm going with it. I'm going with it. Remembering Jim Shooter, the man who made Marvel great again. Okay, so you know what? I'm not lying. I am not lying. He did. Okay, we all know Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, they created the Marvel Universe. There were troubles. Not to say that there weren't great things that happened in the 70s and even early 80s. There were some wonderful things. It was Jim Shooter, though, who stepped up and made Marvel what we wish it was today. As a matter of fact, just a few years back, he stated that they need old school talent like that to step up now and make it great again.
You do know that the phrase "great again" is going to trigger randomers in the comments.
Fudge. Yeah, I know, right? I'm reading the books I got in the mail today, like some 60s Archie plus Firestarter. Oh, I'm glad you got all your stuff there, and it came in all right. I do have some stuff to show off as well. Wow. I just don't know. I don't know what to say, man. Jim Shooter pissed off a lot of people. Jim Shooter is he is the editor-in-chief of my favorite part of Marvel. I was a kid when he was the editor-in-chief. We would often you would see him in the bullpen bulletin. There would be somebody like, okay, it would be somebody talking to him, and then you just see the body, and that was Jim Shooter, because the whole thing was he was so tall and such. You would get the assistant editors a month, so there was a sense of fun to Marvel Comics when he was the editor. Marvel Comics was fucking great in the 80s. I know some people would say it'd be, actually, Eric can come on. He might actually say it was better in the 70s. But to me, I was 10 to 20 in the 80s. 1980, I turned 10. 1990, I turned 20. It was a fantastic time. Now we bring up the Secret Wars. Not only that, but you had some of the best runs of X-Men there. You had a great run of Spider-Man with the Hobgoblin and everything. This is something. I got to meet the guy. He went to MegaCon a couple of times. And I'm not generally somebody who goes up to meet celebrities. I really am not. Oh, here's his write-up by Jim Shooter, is a comic book writer, occasional fill-in artist, editor, and publisher. He worked at Marvel Comics for almost 25 years before co-founding Valiant, Defiant Comics, and Broadway Comics. He also has appeared as a character in a number of stories. That is reductive as fuck. I'll tell you the truth. But yeah, I got to meet him at MegaCon, and I was just walking up and down Artist Alley. I think it was on a Thursday, so there was not a lot of people there, and I saw Jim Shooter, and he was just accepting comics and just talking to people. Anybody came up, asked a question, he would talk. And he was really nice. So I went up, and I forget what I asked him about, though. I forget him. I don't know if it was a Secret Wars thing or if it was. I think it might have been a Legion of Superheroes thing. For you that don't know, Jim Shooter was a fan of comic books, as we all were. But he noticed DC was written for kids. They were written, not as good as Marvel comics were written. And he thought he could do better. So he actually sent in some scripts. And the powers that be at DC Comics called his house. And his mother answers, says, hold on, I'll put him on. And they were actually surprised to find out that he was a 13-year-old boy. This is something about Jim Shooter. He was he was 13 when he burst into comics. And he started writing Legion of Superheroes stories. As a matter of fact, he also has some of the better stories in the 1970s from Legion of Superheroes. So, yeah, he did quite a bit. And of course, like I said, he becomes editor-in-chief of Marvel. One of the things that he pissed a lot of people off, people like John. Well, everybody pissed John Byrne off. That's not big things, but he was mentioning he wanted to kind of crush the rebellion, sort of, because there was a lot of talks about creators' rights, and if we write the characters, if we create the characters, we should have ownership of the characters and so forth. And he was more of a you're creator for hire. So, in my opinion, a little bit of the bad guy too. But yeah, these are the stories to tell. By the way, a lot of this I learned from a book called what is it? The Unauthorized Marvel Comics or something. I've read it a couple of times. I can't even remember the title right now.
Unauthorized biography, I think.
Yeah, there's actually an entire section that's just Jim Shooter. So, I mean, in the biography of Marvel Comics, he himself has his own chapter. So there is that. Hello, Dom. We changed the show a little bit. Did you hear of the passing of Jim Shooter? Oh, he's not here yet. Oh,
wait, what?
Jim Shooter died today. As a matter of fact, I just found out seconds ago. So we changed the show. We're talking about Jim Shooter. I apologize. I keep pushing this back. And we're talking about a great book, too. It's going to be Fallen Angel. Possibly the best book we've reviewed here so far. But I felt the death of Jim Shooter.
Wait, so you serious? Jim Shooter actually died?
Yeah, that's what's being reported by multiples. So it's either one big practical joke or it's actually real. So. Hello? Did we lose it?
Oh, still here.
Okay. Rob Liefeld, Jim Shooter has passed away at 73. Oh, hold on. If I'm going to read this stuff, I'll share it. And then I'm going to share what you shared with us, Jay, sorry. And Jay, anybody is welcome. Rob Liefeld writes, Jim Shooter passed away at 73. Jim is the greatest editor-in-chief that Marvel had. Post Stan Lee unlocked the greatness of Marvel's Bronze Era, activated Frank Miller, Walt Simonson, John Byrne, Bill Sienkiewicz, so many others, took a toy tie-in and made it a blockbuster with Secret Wars. So many achievements and gratitude. Marvel Entertainment, we are deeply saddened to hear that Jim Shooter's former editor-in-chief has passed away, redefined the comic book industry, and we will reflect on his undeniable legacy in the coming days. Our hearts are with his loved ones and the many creators and fans who were touched by his work. And then we have more and more. Jim Shooter's passed. His Marvel was the Marvel that hooked me in as a regular reader. Every title of Marvel. That's true. I got to say, this is Aaron Sparrow there. I've got to say that too. I have to say the same thing, man. At the time, I read every Marvel title. I mean, you could do that back in the day, though. It was like 35 cents to 50 cents, It wasn't the way it is now, where it's incredibly expensive. Do either one of you want to say anything, or
Dom, are you there?
I don't know if he's here anymore. I just put up the new thumbnail. Okay. All right. Let me get some. Yeah, Dom's here. He's just got him up. He's got himself muted. Let's see. Leave to be in your 80s ain't bad, says Tony Hayes. It's a good run. It's a good run. Black Spider says Jim was the man Marvel needed. He changed the Marvel universe, and it didn't matter who got hurt. RDV is saying he died of esophageal cancer a couple hours ago. I'm going to read that thing that was left in. Let's see. Jim Shooter looks like Tommy Lee Jones in some pictures. He does, doesn't he? I think in this one right here where that I've got up right now, he sort of looks like Robert Davies of Goonies and Die Hard. Let's see. One of the auction comics that came to my house was Shooter Secret War issue #1, though I'm not going to read until I get all 12 of them, but I did take a peek at one specific page. I have a facsimile of the original ink page in its original scale. It's cool seeing them side by side. Yeah. Maybe that's a book we should save for next week. Do the Secret Wars just out of respect, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you ever read the Secret Wars?
I did a long time ago. Yes, I assume the Secret Wars we're talking about is the first one, the one that introduced the black suit and everything.
That is,
and so on.
That is a good assumption.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I normally don't.
I think that is the only thing of his that I've ever read, though. That's why I've been very quiet. I don't want to come off sounding like a dick because I don't really have a dog in this particular fight. But so just
this one's from Mark Wade. R.I.P. Jim Shooter, 1951 to 2025. I've just received word that Jim Shooter passed away of esophageal cancer, which he's been battling for some time. I realize that for many, he's been a controversial figure in the past. Game knows game, mostly. Oh, shut the fuck up, Mark. Always trying to make it about yourself.
Did Mark Wade pull a Mark Wadeism again?
Yeah, mostly with regards to his managerial style, but my experiences with him lay outside that realm and began with my lifelong love for his writing. Oh, yeah, Mark Wade. Like him, hate him, whatever, you got to give props. Mark Wade is one of the biggest Legion of Superhero fans. Yeah. For his writing beginning with the first time I ever picked up a copy of Adventure Comics in 1967. For those who don't know, Jim broke into the comics at the age of 14. I was 1 year off. Let me say that again. 14. I don't know about you, but when I was 14, I could barely put sentences together on paper. No, I could do more than that. Now, during a hospital stay, he'd been given some Marvel and DC comics and could clearly see how much more exciting the Marvel books were, and couldn't understand why DC books couldn't have had that same vitality. Having no idea how comic scripts were done, he literally wrote and drew a Legion of Superheroes story on a notebook paper and sent it in to editor Mort Weisenberg, and who put him to work immediately, having no idea how young he was until later. Jim left comics in the late 1960s, returning in the mid-1970s to a DC that didn't quite know what to do with him, before moving to Marvel and eventually serving as the editor-in-chief for many years. Subsequently, he launched a succession of long and short-lived comic companies over the past years. He'd been making frequent comic convention appearances. My meals and conversation with Jim were always genial. I never failed to remind him just how inspirational his work was to me, and there are storyline telling choices and stylistic influences I got from him in nearly all my work. I regret that I didn't get a chance to say goodbye, but I'm glad he's finally at peace after years of suffering. Godspeed, Jim. That is possibly the best thing Mark Wade has wrote since Archie 1941. Yeah. There you go. Let's see. Secret Wars is a classic. I do agree that there was a bit of a competition. It was Crisis versus Secret Wars. I think sales-wise, Secret Wars stomped it like a narc at a biker rally. But I think I
think in terms of legacy, Crisis eventually won out, though.
Yeah, but yeah, Mark Wade is one of the best writers currently in the business. Hate his politics, but his books are awesome, says RDV. I agree. Making comic book is easier said than done, says Tony Hayes. And I'm looking. And I'm wondering, okay, I was like, I'm looking at all the stuff that he's got his name on, and I was like, because I'm trying to figure, okay, what were the stuff that he wrote? What was the stuff that he, maybe wrote and drew? But unfortunately, I can't find, because everything's covered with editing. And I'm telling you, he is the 1980s of comics, and he did put together and was the editor-in-chief during the greatest run of comics of all time, and that is the issues that were the Frank Miller run on Daredevil. For as much of a fan I am of
the Born Again era.
No, that came later, but I'm talking about, what was it, 157, 158, all the way to like 290, or yeah. No, 158 to 190 was all Frank Miller. It was freaking incredible. Jim created Parasite, says RDV. Watching Batman Mask of Fan, that is a great movie. That is a great movie. So, yeah, we lost Dominic again.
It is the best cinematically released Batman movie, and I will be taking no questions at this time.
Black Spider's saying, hey, he helped bring in Care Bears, Transformers, G.I. Joe, all the toy lines, all the yeah, I mean, I guess you could say he brought, yeah, that's there were a lot of those, by the way. It wasn't just the big ones. I've sold a couple of the runs where it was like the Star Comics. You could just the Star Comics, where it was all the tie-ins, all the IP things, Sectars, I think, was one. But yeah, it's something. I'm looking at his kind of his resume here of all the books he was involved in, and once again, most of them were editing. But here, let me show you what Comic Vine is saying. These are the books he's worked on. Let's go way up here. I mean, this is a who's who, right? Damn, Marvel Team Up was so good. Oh yeah, I mean, it's the 80s. That's what it is. It's the 80s of comics. And then, of course, you have his Legion stuff. So he's the creator of the Fearsome Five. He's the creator of Karate Kid. I mean, scroll down. I mean, there's the creator of Shadow Lass. That's her first appearance right there. You got Wildfire in there. That is a pretty darn good run, if you ask me. And being a big Legion of Superheroes fan myself, I'm actually reading the entire run. It is. I love Old Glory as your background. Thank you. I do too. Let's see. Didn't he write Iron Man or draw? Well, I'm pretty sure I saw it in there. As a matter of fact, that was one of them. Did he actually write it? That is something. All righty. Anywho, let me see what we got here. It says 119 appearances. I wish it would lay it out like he wrote this. Archie Goodwin was the writer. Yep, Jim Shooter. Issue number 90. He's one of the writers. So I guess so. Yeah. But there you go, man. I'm telling you, this is something. And he was such a nice guy too. And he wanted the same things we did. He wanted the comic book industry to heal itself. He saw that the comic industry was going in the wrong direction. Now, I don't know, and I don't think I would. I don't think it was far right. I don't know what his politics were.
Which that in and of itself, especially post social media, is a
good
godsend. Yeah.
But I do know that he wanted what was best for the comic book industry. He wanted the same things we did. So there you go. Huh. Alrighty. I gotta say, I don't know. I don't know what to say anymore. I just don't. Let's see. He is, however, he is not trending. That is sad. That is very sad. He should be. He should be trending right now. I mean, but like I said, the mainstream public, they don't know him because he wasn't in the movies. Is he credited? You know, when they if they did Venom, is he credited in Venom? I mean, that's the whole.
I've never seen him credited in any movies that had Venom in it. I assume probably that he'll get a credit in Secret Wars, considering they are adapting that. Although
yeah, whether they'll take, so.
whether they're taking more influence from the original Secret Wars or the one that launched All New, All Different, I don't know. Knowing how Kevin Feige tends to lean and how much they've been leaning on All New, All Different recently in phases 4 and 5 and now 6, I suspect it will be the more recent Secret Wars, which is annoying, but we shall see.
I would like to point this out right here, man. Hold on, let me get to StreamYard again and share this. This is the kind of thing that they did back in the day, man. I mean, look at this. We say this a lot, and I don't think we have really appropriately defined it. One of the things that we would say quite a bit is comic books used to be fun. They're so self-serious now. They're even the harsh ones, even the horrible ones, just don't seem. You know, it just seems weird now. It just, I don't know.
Well, and conversely, modern comics don't seem like they're written like by adults for like even children can do better than what modern day writers do, because all this art school hackery of there is no such thing as in-universe logic, there is no such thing as continuity, there is no such thing as merit, there is no such thing as beauty standards, etc., ad nauseum. All of that has rotted the artistic landscape to such a horrendous degree that there are literal cartoons from when I was a kid which are better written than modern day like serious prestige dramas. Like I will put the Cadmus storyline of Justice League Unlimited up against any Starz show, HBO show, Encore show, any of the prestige networks. I will put Cadmus storyline from Justice League Unlimited up against anything made by a prestige network nowadays for adults, and they will lose every single time.
Now, I have read
writing has become so profoundly mid-witted and unserious.
I have read some current DC comics, Marvel comics, and independent comics. And let's see, the last one I read, Marvel comics, I read the Emma Frost book. It was shit. I read They Chose Violence. That was extreme shit. And I chose, the best one was Flash, All In. Yeah, something about him being in Africa and meeting an elongated man and his wife and such like that. That was actually fun. Mind powers are convinced a subscriber. The talking about the hero he made that got his powers from back in the day when the House of Ideas had good ideas. Yeah. But this is the kind of fun stuff they did. They didn't take themselves serious. And I'm pretty sure, of course, it came out of Stan Lee, who would always give them weird nicknames and such. I like the fact that it's Jim Shooter. He's towering above all the buildings and such. Rodimus Primal is saying without him, G.I. Joe would not have Cobra, and the Transformers would not have come from Cybertron. He was the Marvel's editor-in-chief in the late 70s and 80s. I had the pleasure of meeting him 2 years ago and interviewed him not long after. He contributed so much to the world of comics. He will be sorely missed. Here's Eric July with him. There you go. He's always been my personal GOAT when it comes to editor-in-chief, and I'm incredibly grateful I had the chance to learn from him and absorb. Yep. All righty, and hello again to Dominic. What's up?
Okay, after much technical issues, it's I will say, like, even though the Wade is not known to be a massive a-hole, I will give him props for actually being professional and courteous. Like when in light of Shooter's unfortunate death.
Yeah.
For once. Yeah, he can't be reliably relied upon to be stable and sane, but this one time he gets credit for acting like a human being.
Well, yeah. Well, besides that, what I can say is, dang it, man, another one of my heroes. Like I will not be able to meet because now he's 6 feet under.
Yeah. And
I'm surprised he went so early. 73 is not that old by modern standards.
Not to mention the guy. He keeps himself in good shape.
he seemed all right when I met him. I think Eric July might have met him at the same convention I was at.
Do we know what
looks like the same setup?
Do we know what the COD was?
Well, they just said esophageal cancer.
Okay, so that explains why it was so sudden.
Yeah, but
well,
but it's actually most likely that he kept his cancer diagnosis like a secret, similar to
they just
what happened with Chadwick.
announcement.
Yeah, similar to what happened to like Chadwick Boseman and Norm Macdonald. Like they kept their cancer diagnosis hidden from the public.
Yep.
But that's actually how like the voice actor for Aku, Samurai Jack, and Iroh from Avatar, Mako Iwatsu.
Yep.
That's how he died from esophageal cancer.
Patrick Sargent, Jim Shooter. He was an editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics in the 1980s. He basically shaped Marvel Comics into reshaped, I should say, into a great company. Some of the best comic books came out after.
He now was also a very, very talented writer and artist.
Yep, and he created Valiant Comics, which is, by the way, still going today.
Yeah, Valiant. Well, even though it should be under better circumstances, but
I didn't say it's doing well today.
Yeah, well, that's not the point. But he also did Defiant and even Broadway comics.
What did somebody I saw said, let's not talk about Broadway comics. So I guess that wasn't his.
What was wrong with it?
I
have no idea. I would have to see.
Well, what's what happened with Defiant after he was like unceremoniously kicked out of Valiant, which he helped founded, which is like another huge blow.
Well, what I think is something is you have when you talk about Valiant Comics, a lot of people really just talk about those years that he was involved in. There is a drop off. There's a point where it was just not that company anymore. And as good as Robert Venditti's Exo Manowar, people don't talk about Valiant Comics as much as they did. They don't talk about that 2010s run. They definitely don't talk about the Heather Antos years.
Yeah.
Other than to decry them, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even when Shooter was removed, well, you can tell there was a drop off. Well, the creative team involved in the respective titles of Valiant, they want to continue. I want to continue the quality of those series, even though Shooter's no longer at the helm.
Yep.
And I mean that's actually how I was introduced to Shooter was through Valiant Comics, but also of course through Legion of Superheroes among several titles.
Now, let's see. Broadway Comics. I'm looking it up, trying to find because I don't know, in all honesty, what they did. Did the Shadows? Are you kidding me? Fatale?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And also the Knights of Broadway.
Yeah. Babes of Broadway.
No. Oh, well, yes, I know the Babes of Broadway, but there's
and Knights of Broadway.
Knights of Broadway.
Yeah. Fatale's pretty damn good.
Oh yeah. It's a really good series, and it's rather unfortunate that the Broadway comics they didn't get collected as omnibuses, and also not to mention one of the works that Shooter was involved in before he died was actually finishing up the Schism storyline for Defiant Comics.
Okay. Yeah, that was something. By the way, I dug on Warriors of Plasm. I like that
me
when
too.
it came out. And I was one of the idiots who actually collected the there was a notebook
cards?
and you collected the cards, and I actually collected them.
Nice.
I didn't buy a box. I did it the old-fashioned way.
Right. But actually, not only do I love the Warriors of Plasm, but also the Dogs of War, the good guys, Charlemagne, and also there's another type. That was another title. Dog. Oh, the. Oh wait, no, I already mentioned Dogs of War. No, but
did you get the notebooks, the whole 9 yards?
Unfortunately, really, I did not find like the notebooks with the cards, but I almost have like the full run of each of the Defiant titles. Actually, I have like the full run of the good guys, as well as Warriors of Plasm.
Yeah, you can see right here that suit is wearing him.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, yeah. The late Jim Shooter in the Marvel bullpen in 1983. Holy Toledo.
Yeah.
Which basically you look at a picture like this and it makes you think, and it really you absolutely have to ask yourself the question, who's the hot chick dressed like Spider-Woman?
Yeah.
I'm looking at okay, here's there's I think that's Mark Waid right here. Okay, I'm trying to notice all. Okay, I can't recognize these younger faces.
Byrne?
That's Byrne, I think.
Yeah, that was the Byrne and Waid.
That looks like okay. I think that looks like that might be Byrne. They kind of look alike, to tell you the truth.
I mean,
during that for the time it's 19. Yeah, that's more likely Byrne. You're right.
Yeah, see? Yeah, that's Byrne. That's John Byrne, not Waid.
The weird thing is we didn't have the internet like you guys did. We didn't know these people until we went to the Comic-Cons and we saw them. It's like, who the heck are these guys? I met Gary Conway earlier this year. He might be next to. Well, they're all getting older. So yeah.
Can you imagine like if like things played out differently, like Shooter, like he would actually own Marvel Comics and actually continue like maintaining the quality of not just the books but the publishing company.
There's somebody asking, can anybody name? Everybody can recognize. You're right, John Byrne, but who are the others? Dun, dun, dun. That guy is keeping her close, wouldn't you? She's cute. Think about this though. Right now, she's 70. Maybe 65. Yep, it takes us all, kids. There you go. We got Aaron Myers, rest in peace. This is from the Marvel Age. What a life in comics. You made comics what they were for so many people. But that's what I'm telling you. Look at this. Look at this. This is John Byrne. I'm not John Byrne. This is Jim Shooter. This is what he had ushered.
I think I'm more used to seeing him as an editor. That's why I can't really think of any storylines that stick out.
Of course, because who knows the editor, right? Gilf.
Well, I mean, enough to know that I've seen him before. Like, the name is familiar to me and stuff. I just can't, like, when some people died, it was like, oh, not the guy who did this storyline or not the guy who did that storyline, but I can't, like, think of anything specific that I would remember Jim Shooter for other than knowing that he did Secret Wars, the original one.
Kelly Jones, who is a Gothic artist, did the Batman Vampire Elseworlds. Jim Shooter has died. When I got hired to draw comics for Marvel Comics many years ago, Jim Shooter flew out to do several signings in my area, and asked if I'd come and meet him, which I did with great trepidation because he was the boss of bosses, and I was just starting out. When he finished signing, he asked if I'd like to go out for a meal anywhere I wanted, and we could talk about making comic art professionally. I told him, let's go to McDonald's. We talked for hours and a lot about Jack Kirby. When it was over, he asked, why did I want to eat at McDonald's of all places? I told him very earnestly that I didn't want Marvel to pay for an expensive meal as I was a nobody. He laughed his ass off and hugged me and saying I was Marvel material. He was always very kind to me after all the years, and God bless him. Valerie Durazzo, who you guys know has had some trouble with artists and writers. My first and only in-person encounter with Jim Shooter was at New York City Comic-Con, a bar at about 15 years ago. I introduced myself and we talked. He was a really nice guy who was very generous with his time and talked about the comic. He really was. I had that same experience. Yeah, until people started coming up with stuff to sign, and because I literally was just having a conversation. He was good about it.
Yeah, I was much like Shooter. Like Valerie is not afraid to tell things like they are, especially only like giving critiques to the current state like of the comic book industry.
Yeah. Greg Capullo, R.I.P. Jim Shooter. Jim graciously reviewed my portfolio as a young kid. I never had an appointment. I just drive down to the city, head to their office, ride the elevator up, and hope for the best. Something that'd be impossible to do post 9/11. Thank you, Big Jim Shooter. And here's another look at his. These are the books that he's touched. I mean, you got the John Byrne run. You've got the Trial of Hank Pym here. You've got the Death of Phoenix, the Death of Elektra, as I said,
G.I. Joe. Yep. And Moon Knight.
Yep. And of course, the demon in the bottle. Not only the demon in the bottle, but both Eric and I are on record saying that the second demon in the bottle, where James Rhodes takes the armor, is even better. Didn't you help the Hulk go insane? Yep. With Incredible Hulk issue number 300. Also sent him on the path to different dimensions and so forth and so on. Frank Miller's Daredevil run, which is represented with this issue right here, Death of Elektra. Power Pack, great story. I believe that was Louise Simonson.
Yes, yeah, Louise Simonson and June Brigman.
I can bring this. This is actually out right now because I was looking at it the other day. Yeah, great stuff. This.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, June Brigman, like the artist, like she still got it.
Yeah. And yeah, of course, Secret Wars with the creation of the Black Suit, which ended up with being Venom. Yeah. But I gotta say, this is it for me, man. This is where I got my start with Jim. I didn't even know what a Jim Shooter was. I didn't know what a Mike Grell was. I'm glad I got to meet him too. But I read Legion of Superheroes. My brother was a huge Legion of Superheroes fan, and he got our mom to buy a treasury. They were called like DC Special or something like that. And I read that constantly to the point where I thought it would look better as a poster on my wall. So I cut it up and I glued it to the wall. If you want to know how to piss off your brother and your parents at the same time, cut up a comic book and glue it to the wall. I was like 6. What you gonna do?
Well, if I were your brother, I'd be beating the crap out of you for that. That's what I was doing. But you know
what? So would he.
I suspect that may or may not have been his reaction.
I do believe I got an ass whooping for that. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hey, Eric and Boyd, how's it going? Eh? How's it going? Jim Shooter talking about how he got into the comic industry as a writer. Let's see.
This went on for a little while. The editor, I'm Jim Shooter, and when I was 12 years old, I decided I wanted to write comic books because my family needed money, and when you're 12, they won't hire you in a steel mill. So I thought, I can do that. The reason I thought I could do it is I read a bunch of DC comics, I read a bunch of Marvel comics, and the Marvel comics were better. And I thought, if I can figure out why these are better, then I can write for those guys. So I literally studied comic books for a year. And when I thought I had it figured out, I wrote a script for DC Comics Adventure Comics featuring Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, and sent it to them. I thought, well, maybe a shot of selling this. Well, I got a letter back from the editor saying, hey, this is pretty good. Send us another one. So I sent him 2 more. And he called me up and he said, I want to buy all 3 of these and I want you to write a Supergirl story and we'll keep you busy as much as you want. So I became a regular writer. It was in 9th grade.
This was not a common thing. A 13 and 14-year-old kid writing comics just didn't happen in 1966.
After this went on for a little while, the editor said, I want you to fly up to New York. I lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I want you to fly up to New York and spend a couple days in the office because we want to teach you a few things. And I kind of hesitated. And he finally said, how old are you? Because he thought I must be a college student, I think. And I said, well, I just turned 14. I mean, I wrote the first story when I was 13. And he said, put your mother on the phone.
Yeah, I mean, like a whoops.
All context aside, it is pretty impressive that a 13-year-old kid was just like, yep, I can write something on par with most writers.
And
I know, right? But also, like, granted, like keep in mind, like, he's a tall guy, so I imagine, like people would think that he's old. He's older than he looked, even though at the time he was younger.
Yep. That is something. Well, he, unfortunately, of course, you could see he had bad acne and it left the scars and that. I think that made him look aged. Let's see. From what I'm hearing out there, college degrees aren't enough, says Austin Power.
They're not. Well, the problem is, unfortunately, it's not the same academia as it was 50 years ago. So. No. Not only are degrees not enough by themselves now, many of them, and by many of them I mean most of them, are not worth the paper they are printed on, nor the ink cost to print them. And therein lies the reason why the West is intellectually failing, because the degrees of our highest academics, and by highest academics I mean Ivy League, are not worth the paper or ink used to print them.
I can imagine Jim Shooter hosting a college lecture on the anatomy of comic books, not just in the writing but also in the artistry as well. Well, because he has done both before he became EIC.
Yep. Yeah. What was the name of the writer? Who was it? Black Spider saying, didn't it happen to a writer at the Rolling Stone? Yeah, he's famous. He did a couple of movies. I think Vacation might have been one. No, that was John Hughes. The movie about the kid that goes on the trip with a rock band, that was based on his life. I can't think of his name. Something.
Are you talking about Mick Jagger? Oh, I thought you were talking about Mick Jagger of Rolling Stones.
Nope. Okay.
Someone do me a favor and let me know.
Almost Famous. Yeah, it was.
Oh, Almost Famous. Yeah, I remember that movie.
Was a movie based on. That was a movie based on somebody's life, and right now.
Was Jim Shooter the editor on the second Strange Tales run, the one Strange shared with Cloak and Dagger? I think he might have been the editor for that.
Cameron Crowe was the guy I'm talking about. Yeah. Yes, he did. That was his time. That was his time as editor. Let's see. What are we talking about? You're a small fish in a boat. What are we talking about there?
The college thing.
Oh, the college thing. Yeah. Okay.
Still.
Jim Shooter was born for comics. Some people are born for some jobs. Yep. That was Black Spider. Johnny Hayes, do not major in Renaissance art. Okay. People go to art school still not knowing how to actually draw, add, or apply a skill there.
That's. I'm gonna have to disagree with Tony a little bit, because I think if art schools were more about appreciating previous eras of art and less about merit doesn't exist, continuity doesn't matter, only themes matter or exist, and only authorial intent matters or exists. If they actually spent time going into the nuts and bolts of how different eras of art worked, that art schools would not be synonymous in my head with everything destroying our civilization.
In other words,
Ironically, I think we need more people majoring in Renaissance art so as to get rid of all this post-Frankfurt School neo-Hegelian crap.
in other words, whereas people that should actually take a page from Jim Shooter and study them.
And not so that they can subvert and destroy and invert everything, preferably.
Well, also like what makes like a majority of today's creators, not just in comics, not just in entertainment, what makes them like different like from their peers in the previous generations is they started out as fans and they appreciated what came before, and they want to honor them while also establishing their own legacies.
Yeah. Whereas
Shooter, he continued that tradition.
Yeah. Whereas modern art school graduates only want art as a means to a socio-political or moral end, and hate the idea of fandom with a fiery passion that burns with the white-hot intensity of 1,000 suns. And that's why everything sucks now.
Is this one from Whitefield?
Yeah, he shared this as this was from July 7th, 2020. It says, he really did some heavy lifting, so the Jim Shooter creative era is amazing. But business-wise, Jim Shooter opened up the floodgates on the direct market. He started giving comic books that only comic stores would carry to pull you away from the spinner racks to get kids like me from the grocery store and into the comic book store. Books like Marvel Fanfare, books like Caesar, books like Dazzler. He shifted some books like Micronauts to a direct-only model. But he was trying to help the comic stores out, saying, if you want this line of comics, they are only available at your comic store. So he was a champion of the direct market. Now, no, I've got to move this. Excuse me. Now, under him, as we, this is why this perfectly dovetails. If you listen to My Secret Wars and the Rise of the Company crossover, excuse me for a sec, because this is okay. So it stopped there. Jim Shooter's Jim Shooter's.
I was speaking in generalities, RDB. You don't need to pedant-splain me. Thank you.
Jim Shooter's tenure might be one of the richest of any editor-in-chief because he unleashed talent into the comic book world. He took their creative limitations off and just let them go. You know how much I have talked about Frank Miller. Let me tell you what I haven't talked about Frank Miller recently. Frank Miller is a show coming on Netflix in the next couple of weeks. It's called Cursed. It's Frank Miller's take on King Arthur. Okay, I guess that's about Frank Miller. All right, there you go. All right. Let's see.
Oh, I can tell you like if Shooter wasn't unceremoniously kicked out of Marvel, he would actually do his dangest to make sure like the young bloods at the time, such as like McFarlane, Lee, and the others, I was like they would be like satisfied and give them like the necessary incentives to like stay on.
Yeah. Eric July killed Jim Shooter.
Unfortunately, Tony, I can't look anything up because my phone only lets me be on stream when I'm on stream, and if I try to minimize the window, it will kick me off the stream. So
you know what? Crap. I do have to say I did enjoy the new universe.
Me too.
I was a big fan at the time. It was just there was just something about it, man. When it came out, that I guess I was about 13 maybe when it came out.
I see.
Yeah, and it just grabbed me. I mean, I dug Night Mask probably the most. Night Mask and DP7 were my favorite of the two. And I mean, I liked Starbrand and I liked Merc and Troubleshooter. Say again?
Have you read Cyforce?
Oh yeah, loved it. The only one I had trouble with, I appreciate now more than I did back then, and that's Kickers Inc. I read it too serious back then. Now I read it and I okay, it's going to be a goofy football comic, you know. Football players are the superheroes, you know, that kind of thing.
What did you think of Spitfire?
It was enjoyable. I you know, if I were to I think it would probably have been, and I might forget a title here, Kickers Inc., and then probably Spitfire, Merc, Justice, Cyforce, DP7, and oh wait, I'm forgetting Justice would be, and then it would be Cyforce, and then DP7 and Night Mask. Yeah, those are my favorite.
No, like, even though like I was like introduced to the new universe, it was like like after it lost its ended, like I still when I was like when I like started upon it when I was like doing research like on Marvel Comics and its imprints, it was like immediately like I wanted to like find and like own the individual titles like of the new universe because they were and still are that good.
Tony, I screen capped the chat that you sent. I will look up the name later when I'm not on stream and thus can actually Google things.
Well, what I will say is the new universe it deserved better treatment than like how it ended when after Shooter got kicked out.
Yeah.
Because I know because I'm feeling that like nobody will ever like let it down that Burn essentially just threw a one major hissy fit.
What? No. Burn? No. What? No. Johnny Boy? No.
Of all the things that definitely happen all the time, that happens probably the most.
Burn, comma John, threw a hissy fit. John Burn. Yeah.
In other words, it was a day that ended in Y.
Eric Boyd said there definitely was something to Universe Comics. It had its own flavor for lack of adequate explanation, and yet it bombed. That was kind of, I think, like Justice was the most successful with 31 issues or something like that. But it didn't too well. I actually also equated Strike Force Morituri in there because they kind of released around the same time. So I always thought it was the same thing. But there was and in the 1980s, there's just a feel. And in all honesty, I got that again. I was for the first time in probably 3 decades, I read Dazzler and the Beast. It's called Beauty and the Beast, and it just transported me. I wasn't reading things from a 2025 kind of cynical mindset. I was back. I'm reading it. It's like I was a kid again. Now, granted, the book that I have, it's a hardcover, and it opens with Dazzler the movie, and that is fantastic as well. I would love to do a review of that. But it was something. That entire era of Marvel Comics has just it has a connection, but it has a feel. Every title is its own, and I think that's something that modern day Marvel writers and editors from when I was reading comics, as RDV loves to point out, when I've tried Marvel, I don't feel that. I don't feel a sense of wonder. I don't feel a sense of fun, of discovery. And that you could blame age on that, but I do sometimes get that from an independent comic book, or occasionally DC might luck out and hit something. Definitely not with shit like Fire and Ice, but occasionally they might hit. But
yeah, I'll always probably be more of a DC guy than I am a Marvel guy. I read them both in my particular niches, whatever they provide that is in one of my particular niches. But if you put a gun to my head and like you had a Infinity Gauntlet and we're gonna snap a major of the big two out of existence, I would say let it be Marvel and not DC. So
these days, yeah. No, even in the 80s, DC also had some great stuff. Dazzler's become a recent favorite of mine after reading a lot of her original run. I have about half of it now, and still look for the rest. Is awesome.
And it took decades for Dazzler's like ongoing series at the time to be collected in trades and eventually in an omnibus.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the Marvel Essentials, but I just saw that the omnibus on Amazon is only $60. So if I get the extra money, man, I'm buying that. That's for sure. So I saw it's only 60. God dang it! I need a break so I can grab onto the
The Epic collections are also quite nice and relatively cheap for what they are.
Yeah.
You have to know what character starred in the book to get the Epic collection if you want it.
Eric and Boyd, Tony Hayes said, I do miss being 13. 1983 for me, by the way. Eric and Boyd said, DP7 has a place in my heart. I may need to do a video about that sometime. Yeah.
Hey.
Cool. That'd be cool. Read Beauty and the Beast if you can get it, says Tony Hayes. I absolutely agree with that. Usually I think relatability overrated in characters. I don't need it to enjoy them. But with Dazzler, there's something about her character I find relatable, and it keeps me reading her. One thing I dug was about the Dazzler movie, the graphic novel. There's no bad guy. It is a character story. It's a character study. Something I was going to talk about tonight with Fallen Angel, by the way.
Relatability is one of the positive qualities that can sell a book for me, but there are other qualities that can do it just as well. Usually, I would rather a character be inspiring rather than relatable. But there are occasionally characters like a John Constantine or a Harry Dresden, where I'm like, this guy is a cosmic fuck up, but man, does it hit right sometimes, because I look at the mistakes they're making and go, thank God I am not you right now, even though I probably could be.
That's kind of funny. What if the Dresden was shaved? Does he have to be Harry?
What now?
Nothing. Never mind.
I was gonna say, because to the best of my recollection, Harry Dresden has never been known to shave anything, as far as I'm aware.
Because he's a Harry Dresden.
Your joke was bad, and you should feel bad. I'm quoting Zoidberg.
Right. Okay, no, that was very bad. But that was a really bad joke.
Yes, it was. You should be ashamed. Hang your head in shame forevermore. God damn it.
That was kind of funny too. You got to admit. Greed Black Spider. People don't like their books, but I don't know why. What are we talking about? Epic had some good books. Yeah, I thought so too. Oh man, that was already. But I don't know. I don't know what else there is to say.
Well,
we lost a legend, ladies and gentlemen. We lost a legend today.
Well, as the old saying goes, he may be gone, but he will never be forgotten.
Oh no, of course not. That's the best. That's the best era.
It's
Eric and Boyd, don't put a donkey anything your angling team. We all know what he likes to do to those.
Well, now I'll just put him to work. I'm in management, guys. I don't have to work anymore. No.
Yes. No, even though that I did get a chance to meet Mr. Shooter before he kicked the bucket like so soon and unexpectedly. I can at least say is thank you for being an inspiration to not just me but to a lot of creatives over the decades.
Thank you for being a friend.
Well, great. Now I have to binge watch Golden Girls for the third time.
Is that one of your go-tos?
Okay. Long story short, my great-grandmother, who I spent every weekend with from the time I got home from the hospital to the time I was about 15 when she died, that was one of her favorite shows, and she would watch it often. So I can't think of Golden Girls without thinking of my saintly great-grandmother.
I have the same thing, but with Basic Instinct.
Yeah. Well, actually, on an unrelated note, I recently rewatched Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
It still holds up, including the soundtrack. And Levi Stubbs of the Four Tops remains one of the best choices.
Question though, were you honestly expecting it not to hold up though? Because I wasn't aware that was even. I didn't
A question,
know that
yeah.
Little Shop was ever even up for review on that score. Like what?
No, I expected it to age well.
Yeah.
Well, because I was introduced to that movie back in elementary school.
Little Shop is one of those movies that was so perfect at the time it came out that I don't think anyone will ever question whether it holds up.
Yeah.
To put it another way, I wouldn't trust myself alone in a dark alley with anyone who did question whether Little Shop holds up, because it's probably insane.
Tony Hayes mentioning Jim Shooter's probably the biggest loss in comic book history.
He's not wrong.
I have a question for you, because
Well,
we're kind of talking. I'm liking talking about the comics and such. And you mentioned Dazzler, Austin. I mentioned Beauty and the Beast. I've got others. So I'm going to ask you two. And it doesn't have to be the 80s. That's Jim Shooter's era, because you're younger than I am. I get it. But if you can, from that era, what, or even from your own, what is a comic book that you read it and it takes you back? If you ever saw Ratatouille, he takes a bite right there, and he's a child again. What is the comic book that has done that to you, where you're like, okay, I feel like a kid again, guys? Yeah, and it might be a modern comic book that gave you the feel. I can, Eric, bring a comic book right now off myself.
I mean, I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again because it's applicable. Round about 2015, I had a severe anxiety disorder, which college life was exasperating the heck out of, and I essentially flunked out of college. And after flunking out of college, I became exceedingly depressed to the point of being suicidal. But that year for Christmas, my mom got me the omnibuses for Neil Gaiman's Sandman. And I swear to God, that story was so good, it cured my suicidal ideation. So that probably counts for the metric we're going with here.
Yeah, that says something. Yeah.
Let's see. For me, it would have to be the original Harbinger from Valiant Comics, as well as the Lightning Saga, and I should not be blinking on that storyline. But Jim Shooter was involved with this. Essentially, Clark he goes back to the 31st century, but the Legion they're underground, and Earthman, who was previously Earth Boy, he essentially turned the public against the Legion. Yeah, I recall reading those three disparate books. Well, it's like, one's a series and the other two were storylines. It made me it takes me back to how when I was introduced to Shooter, and when I as a kid, and then it made me look into him, what kind of character he had, but also the legacy he left behind while he was still alive at the time, and it just made me more appreciative of the fact that fans like him, it's possible for a fan to become a professional, and when they do enter the big leagues, they have to place their fanboyisms on hold, and actually put on the big boy pants, and essentially make sure they produce the best quality work possible.
Okay. Let me get some. What am I trying to say? Comments right here. Alrighty, hold on just a second. I wanted to see, did he have his, before I start talking, I'm like, wait a second, was he a part of this one? A book that does it for me, and I got to say one thing that I loved about 1980s, the Jim Shooter era. There were a couple of things. One was the Marvel graphic novels. And those just bring me in. Give me God Loves, Man Kills any day of the week. And I remember being a kid in a town we just moved to. I don't have my friends around me, and I'm just absorbing all of that. And the other one is Assistant Editors Month. That was just pure fun. That was switching. It was almost like Acts of Vengeance. Switch things around, make things silly, make it just a blast to be a part of.
And that was honestly my reaction when I started reading Valiant through Harbinger.
Yeah. Marvel Team Up. That was the issue with the Golden Oldie. Franklin Richards and Aunt May. Aunt May becomes a Herald of Galactus.
Yeah.
And they freaking beat him with Twinkies. They do a whole riff on those Hostess ads, and they discover that if they feed Galactus Twinkies, he doesn't want to devour planets. I mean, it was silly stuff like that. There is an issue of The Thing that came out during Assistant Editors Month, where the whole thing is, I think his name was Goody Two Shoes, and he's beating the snot out of the Thing. And at the very last page, Ben rushes into the Marvel offices, because at that point in time, the Marvel bullpen were characters in the Marvel universe, and he's rushing in and he says, what are you talking about? This is the way the fight went. And Goody Two Shoes rushes out, kicks Ben, and he like flick and defeats him. The Editors Month with Thor, where Hercules is talking to a kid about a battle he had with Thor and how Hercules was smiting the son of Odin, only to find out that she was holding a notepad with her own drawing of Thor on it. So he ended the story, and then Thor delivered the final blow, and he hits Hercules off his feet and everything. There was that kind of fun. That's the kind of thing I was talking about. And you're right. Everybody knows that Jim Shooter had a problem with the people backstage, but it was kept backstage. And I get it. I get it. A lot is because we didn't have social media, but all we knew was the fun of the comics, or the serious of the comics. Because just go ahead a few years, and you've got all the ones with the Borders of Superheroes, the 25th anniversary, and you go to the New Mutants, and you have one of the most poignant stories.
Well, that's the thing, though. Even if there was behind the scenes drama, that spite never or almost never carried through to the books. That's one of the major differences. That's one of the main issues with modern day writers, is they don't think they even should have a division between front stage and backstage, because they don't actually care about the in-universe logic or the characters or the readers or anything except themes and authorial intent. And so literally one of the main things fueling the majority of writers in today's day and age is active contempt and spite for both the reader, the character, and the very act of creating a comic in the first place.
Okay, let me get a question here. We got MK saying, hey, Inflantine. Alrighty. So who would you say is the equivalent of Jim Shooter of DC? Chuck Dixon, Paul Levitz, or Jeff Johns? Neither. You missed way off. Okay, first, the Stan Lee. I would have to say, oh, goodness gracious. I lost his name. I was going to answer it, and I lost his name. He was Julius Schwartz, I believe it was, who was the editor-in-chief during the Silver Age.
Yeah, the Silver Age.
And he brought in he was the Silver Age. He brought in the Flash. He brought in Green Lantern. He changed DC Comics and he brought back superheroes. He is the reason actually the Marvel Universe exists. Tell you the truth. I mean, you give not directly, obviously, but by bringing back Green Lantern, by bringing back Aquaman and Flash, and Martian Manhunter was even before all of them. And
Breen has arrived. Get in here, Breen.
And even before all of that, the creation of the Justice League led to the creation of the Fantastic Four. So I would have to say the Stan Lee was him, but the Jim Shooter was a woman, and that's Jeanette Kahn. Jeanette Kahn, like Jim Shooter, kind of revived comic books from sales from Marvel. Jeanette Kahn did the same. Now, granted, she had her little hiccup with the implosion and everything, but after that, she heard that people didn't like what Jim Shooter was doing, and she says, "So, Frank, come on over." Frank says, "If you hold on, let me finish up with my rant, and I'll invite questions." But Frank actually said, "I'll do this for you, but you got to let me do my book as well." So Frank went ahead and did a little Batman book because he wanted to do Ronin and have no one tell him yes or no or what to do on those. And she agreed, and that was awesome. John Byrne was disenfranchised with Marvel, so she brought him over. We get the best run in Superman ever. She was the one that greenlit Christ's on Infinite Earths. So, yep. In my opinion, it was none of the people you mentioned. It was Jeanette Kahn, who is the Jim Shooter of DC, and it just so happened that they were same time.
Speaking of underrated female editors that could pass for the Jim Shooter of DC, Karen Berg. Yeah, because I could not believe this when all the comic writers were going around and saying we didn't, respect women back in the day, yada yada, and one of them was Neil Gaiman. I was like, dude, you answered to a woman in comics when you were writing Sandman. Don't try to tell me that
the
shit.
bullshit about that is they're like, oh, comics, women never got. You were an artist, you were a writer, you were an editor back when you're saying this didn't happen, and now you're jumping up now, 30 fucking years later. Yeah. I don't find any guy who jumps on that particular bandwagon heroic. They're just admitting, excuse me, that they didn't do shit when it was happening. So yeah, I'm not buying into that horse shit.
Yeah, at all. Not to mention people like Neil Gaiman, who literally was under the aegis of a female editor, and apparently now he thinks comics were misogynist or something.
I think Chris Claremont is in his 70s, John Byrne in his 60s, Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane in their 50s. How's it going, Eric?
I just unwrapped a cupcake to eat.
Oh, by all means.
But I saw you asked that question, and my answer was Jeanette Kahn, because what you said about Julia Schwartz is a proper answer for a different question. When you said Jim Shooter made Marvel great again, Jeanette Kahn rescued DC from the ashes.
Yep.
But I will say, and I'll be repeating this tomorrow night while you guys are ranking comics on a show I can't promote because it's going to be in competition, so I won't. But Jim Shooter may have saved comics. And what I mean by that is, both companies, they weren't selling the way they were. Marvel, for as much fun as it was in the 70s, it was kind of operating like a frat house. And it was like, who wants to be editor-in-chief this week?
Yep.
Jerry Conway, I'll do it. And 3 weeks later, he's working.
Marv Wolfman did it for a while before he jumped ship to go with Jeanette Kahn.
And Jim Shooter came in, the dreaded Deadline Doom went by the boards under him. And he basically, it was, you did it his way, because he understood creativity because he had been creative. He'd been in creative, but he also understood business far better than somebody his age should have. Hell, he was in his late 20s when he started that.
Well, I mean, given how much of a wonderkin we were just talking about him being with the, getting started at 13 thing, I think it's fair to say that if any of Marvel's editors ever had a, above 140 IQ, it was probably Jim Shooter.
Yeah, but to finish this, so he, in his style, rubbed some creative people the wrong way, to the point to where he drove some of the talent over to DC. Now, by driving the Marv Wolfmans and the George Perez's over to DC, they created a title in the Teen Titans that put them back on the map, led to a resurgence in the Legion.
So you're essentially making a butterfly effect argument.
Well, yeah,
it did.
But so while he's over there, while he's at Marvel overseeing the X-Men run, Byrne's Fantastic Four, Miller's Daredevil, Simonson's Thor, et cetera, DC has some titles that basically gets people buying their stuff again, or they may not have even bothered with the Crisis that really changed the course of that company, which I think you can trace back in part to the people that Shooter drove away, but the people that stayed gave us some of the greatest runs in history. I mean, the ones we named, it's hard pressed to, when I think of runs that the only run in the 21st century that I can put in that class is Brubaker's Cap. And I don't know that we'll ever see a run like that again, because I don't think anybody will be on a title long enough to do it.
I know I know a lot of people didn't read it, so we can't classify it, but you and I both agree that Venditti's Hawkman deserves mention anytime we talk about great runs. It'll never be as iconic.
No, and honestly, it didn't last long enough.
And it was only 28 issues. And I would put Dan Abnett's Aquaman. You guys know when this channel started, I was trying to sell Aquaman hard. It was at the time the greatest book. Peter J. Tomasi's Superman run being, in my opinion, a close second. Yeah, Hawkman came later.
But we're talking about
think there were at least two. I think there were at least two great ones. But when you're talking about iconic, it is a different story.
I don't think either one of those.
Say again. What were you saying, Eric?
I don't think either one of them was as good as Denny O'Neil's Iron Man or Roger Stern's X-Men. I mean, not X-Men, Roger Stern's Avengers. I mean, and those were also under Shooter. I mean, there have been plenty of very, very good and great runs. When we're talking about the all-time greats, hell, the two I just mentioned never get mentioned.
I mean, while we're speaking about Roger Stern and like Roy Thomas, which I believe was also under Jim Shooter, Doctor Strange. I would argue that Roger Stern might be the single greatest writer of Doctor Strange, full stop. In the entire history of the character.
Let me get this. We did talk about this, Abrax, the Jim Shooter's. I am behind on comments, by the way. Jim Shooter's Legion of Superhero Stories among his favorite comics ever. We talked about the Legion stuff. I'm a huge fan. I'm reading. I've started at the beginning. I got the omnibus. I started at the beginning. I'm reading them all the way through. I do have to jump from one omnibus to the showcase, because that second omnibus, volume 2, is a $300 freaking book now. I don't like the way that happened.
At least it's still in print.
Austin doesn't have a book that brings him back to childhood, because he didn't read comics back in childhood. In all honesty, Austin, there's a little bit to be admired here. There's a lot of great stories that we talk about. You get to read for the first time. And so you're in a good spot. Black Spider saying Squadron Supreme, another masterpiece of the Shooter era. And I've got that in omnibus form as well. It's a great story. It really is. Let me try to catch up to some of these. Are we No, they're talking about Blue Wrenches. And George Perez got me reading DC. He can do that. That new Teen Titans run was awesome. Okay, here we go. Shooter was a madman in the 80s. I heard he made John Byrne leave Marvel. Yep. Man with Mason Wings. Yeah.
Because Eglantine had the power to kill comics during that period, and we didn't want Aquaman to get it.
I'd be like, "Oh, guys, you gotta read Aquaman. Gotta read best run ever. It's wonderful. Read this." And then next thing you know, in 3 issues, Kelly, what's her name, is going to take over.
Sudaconic.
Yeah, Kelly Sudaconic's going to take over. And it just seemed like every time, oh my gosh, can you believe this Peter J. Tomasi run of Superman? Here comes.
And it's
Bendis to come all over everything.
I think, Shooter gets credit for driving Byrne to DC, but I would also think the lure of being able to take over Superman probably would have done that anyway. Because I think, he'd been on Fantastic Four for about 5-6 years by then. And it was probably time for him to, like I said, he'd been part of the two greatest runs, or arguably two of the four greatest runs at Marvel in that time. And now the opportunity, because when they were soliciting Superman pitches, I said, who wouldn't want to be able to recreate Superman the way you believed it should be done? And so unfortunately, it's all been undone now. But he might have left, anyway. But
and unfortunately, I don't think there is an answer to, or the answer to that question right now is unfortunately pretty much everyone, because something I've noticed, especially recently, there is just no respect for Superman as a character anymore, because I think because people are just so innately cynical and nihilistic now that they think that anyone choosing to be altruistic and compassionate to a fault and idealistic is just silly or childish or something.
There's a simple reason for that. The modern audience they've spent the last 12 years trying to create, the ones they have managed to get, tend to be self-centered, narcissistic, insular, and
also ideologues,
but not aspirational. They don't believe in aspiring to be somebody else. They believe you should come to them.
Well, and not only that, but because of the infiltration of art schools with post-Frankfurt School neo-Hegelian ideologies, they actually
postmodernism.
They act well. I was gesturing at it without triggering the Jordan Peterson drinking game, but thanks to those ideologies, they actually view nihilism as the grown-up, mature position, and they see they see idealism and altruism and compassion as someone essentially being a stooge for the man. And even a lot of right-wingers in today's day and age don't have much respect for Superman either, because while the more left-leaning people have the postmodern Frankfurt School crap, the right-leaning people have, like, Randian objectivism, which also holds altruism, idealism, and compassion to a fault with contempt. Because
when I see messages and I hear, like, I just saw who did it, Black Spider, Superman is hard to write. He's unstoppable. I do want to bring up another editor, and that would be Mike Carlin, who edited Superman during the Triangle years and kept that ball rolling, kept four titles. Was it? It was, yeah, it was 4 titles, and then they added a 5th to cover the 1 week every 3 months, or the 1 month every 3 months that would have an extra week in it. And that oversaw the fall of Metropolis, the death of Superman, some great freaking stories. So you got to get it, not editor-in-chief, but you got to give it up to Mike Carlin for his handling the Superman. Since we're doing that, let's just look at Denny O'Neil, because he had a lot of great stuff come under him as well. So there you go.
Well, the thing with the Mike Carlin era of Superman was he wasn't unstoppable. I mean, there were characters that could physically go toe to toe with him, and that's something that didn't exist in the Silver Age. Really doesn't exist again now. But for that, 15 years before Wade and Jeff Johns undid every facet of Burns.
May I go on a bit of a rant here, because this is the thing. This is the thing about this. The Superman is unstoppable.
I haven't
issue.
been able to for a long time.
I don't think you can't write a character that's unstoppable is actually a meaningful criticism, especially not with Superman. Because something that a lot of people forget, because for some reason they like doing God symbolism with Superman for no good goddamn fucking reason, is that Superman is the platonic ideal of not a god, but a man, the man part. That's why he doesn't have a lot of powers that are more applicably associated with God. He can't manipulate the weather like Storm can. He can't do energy projection or energy manipulation. He's not an energy-based being. He can't teleport. He can't reality bend or reality warp. And yet, despite the fact that all of his powers are basically just human capacities taken to their logical extreme, people will still make the, oh, he's overpowered argument. And I'm like, if you think that a character like Superman is too overpowered, you're too focused on the powers. You need to stop writing the powers and write the character who's using them, damn it.
That triangle era that I was talking about focused on the fact that he was human. Now, I know Kryptonian, don't at me. The thing is he wasn't raised on Krypton. Yeah, he had the Matrix that he could ask questions to, Father, because I blew up the crystals. He was a guy who was raised in freaking Kansas. He knows Earth, and they put a lot of emphasis. Thank you. On the side characters. And they made sure that they paid attention to the fact that Clark Kent was the character, Superman was the hero. And that's the way it is. That whole Kill Bill bullshit is bullshit.
Well, yeah.
Hold on, let me finish, and then I'll give it to you.
Go ahead.
That's the one that says that Quentin Tarantino writing, he was talking about how Superman is the real identity. No, Clark Kent is the real identity. Batman's the real identity for Bruce Wayne. Superman is the fake identity for Clark Kent because that's who he actually is. So when they write, a good writer who's writing Superman writes Clark Kent, doesn't write Superman. And you have to go vice versa for Batman. Go on ahead.
Well, and there's a third identity, and a lot of focus is on the third identity now, which is Kal-El. Everyone, like the second a writer or a person who's writing Superman or thinking about writing Superman calls him Kal-El unironically, that is the moment I know they're an idiot. Because
Kal-El should not be an identity of Superman because Krypton is not something he knows. He's only read about it. He's only heard about it. He has no experience as Kal-El.
Well, that, so but I would go. But I would go so far as to say there are actually three identities at play here. There is Superman, the hero. There is Clark Kent, the performance that he puts on to Red Herring. And then there is the true Clark Kent who is underneath both of them.
I'm going to jump in here for a second.
Go on ahead.
Okay, Black Spider, just change your last comment. Take out Superman and write in Dalton.
What's the last comment?
Dalton is tough to write. He's unstoppable.
That is true.
Very much not so, but
well, he's talking about it takes an England team to make a Dalton.
Now, when you're talking about focusing on the powers, you're an idiot, and you listed all the things that he can't do. Well, here's the thing. Who needs to be able to teleport when you can move at the speed of light?
Yeah.
Can't control the weather? Bullshit. He can just fly up into whatever cloud he wants to and produce whatever weather he wants.
But my larger
about the being overpowered, that everything that you could put out there, he would have powers to overcome.
But here's my problem with that argument. In the DC universe, there are actual, and this is the problem with the whole super god thing just in general. In the DC universe, there are actual literal metaphysical gods and various supernatural entities that actually do have more deific powers like reality bending, like weather manipulation, like energy projection, etc. That's why I always make the argument that if it came down to it, Dr. Manhattan is actually more powerful than Superman because he does have powers that are closer to godhood, omnipresence, the ability to exist at multiple times simultaneously, being a being of pure energy and consciousness rather than a physical entity, etc. those are the kinds of powers that actually signify a god, both, in the actual philosophical sense and in the sense of in the DC universe, there are literal deities who have powers that Superman does not. One of my favorite moments in Superman the Animated Series, even though I actually don't like the episode very much, is in the episode Hand of Fate. Carcool is fighting Superman, and he says something that's always stuck with me, which is, "You are strong for a mortal, but a mortal is all you are. You do not have the tools to defeat me." That is what people should focus more on when they're writing Superman, because like I was saying earlier, he's not supposed to be a god. He is supposed to be a human being turned up to a platonic 11, which means which means there are and should be many powers that he doesn't have. And in many ways, even Superman acknowledges that the Martian Manhunter, for example, has an advantage over him because Superman doesn't have any telepathic or telekinetic abilities, which is another thing you'd expect a god to have. No like shape-shifting or energy manipulation, etc., and so on. And that's why I get annoyed whenever people say, well, Superman is a metaphorical god. Fuck you, no, he's not. He's a platonic ideal of the capacities and capabilities of a human being taken to their logical extreme.
But the problem with the problem with DC heroes in general in the Silver Age, which is what Byrne did was so important. In reality, yes, Superman's got all these powers. He can do all the things I mentioned, but you can still stop him with a hunk of kryptonite. You can still, magic could still, mess him up. Realistically, the most powerful hero in the DC universe, when we're not talking about the God set, would be the Flash, because in the time it takes you to snap your fingers, he could find a piece of kryptonite on the other side of the world and shove it down Superman's throat. They had no weaknesses, and that's what I think that when people say that Superman was tough to write, because his basic rogues gallery, short of coming up with a piece of kryptonite, what can they really do? And they just became clever ways to.
But here's
they were born in a time where that was popular. Superman was the first character to do the thing Superman did. So the whole sell point was, look what this character can do. And that happened with the Flash, and that happened with the JSA, and it carried on into the Silver Age, where, well, not 100%, of course, because there were a lot of Golden Age crime fighters where it's just a regular guy that knew how to box or something like that. But in the Silver Age, that was what was popular, so that's how they made him. They made him
took a few
almost
years.
unstoppable.
It took 20 years to keep giving Superman powers to get him.
But again, and that goes kind of back to what I said before, if you know who Superman is as a person, i.e. the person using the powers, and that's what I meant when I said you should be writing the person using the powers, not the powers
that's
themselves.
What I said. Write Clark Kent, don't write Superman.
Because what are, for example, always the best stories? The best stories for Superman are always where Luthor is trying to prove a point, because the thing that Lex Luthor hates about Superman is he doesn't believe that a person as powerful as Superman wouldn't be a dictator or a tyrant or a god.
I'm gonna finish your sentence, and then we're moving on from the Superman thing.
And that's why the best stories are when Luthor tries to prove that to Clark, because Clark will always and forever be the small town guy from Kansas who really just feels like he wants to help out as often and however he can be able to. And Luthor can't understand that because, ironically, Luthor is a Randian objectivist character. He is to the letter exactly the quote unquote Superman that Ayn Rand wanted people to be. And that's why Lex always holds Superman's idealism and altruism and compassion to a fault, and not being overly ambitious and overusing power in contempt.
Who'd win, Dr. Manhattan or Cosmic Armor Superman? I don't think I've read the Cosmic Armor Superman stories. I don't know. Whoever the writer wants to.
Okay. Actually, no. There is actually a correct answer here.
Oh, hold on. Let's see. Thank you very much, by the way, to MK for the super chat and RDV. Here's $2 to pause Dalton for 5 minutes. Okay. We got 5 minutes on the clock, 1:39.
Well, I mean, I can just leave.
No, don't do that, dude. Don't do that. And there you go. But thank you very much for the super chat there.
I know you said we were moving on, but I'm going to say one more thing.
Okay.
Another thing that Byrne did that was it's cute that you think you have any control over.
I know, right? It's my channel. What the do I think?
Isn't he precious?
Yeah.
One of the other things that Byrne did, because remember what Superman had built up to during the Silver Age and into the Bronze and the Copper, was his parents had died when he was young. They were gone by the time he went to Metropolis, so he'd left that behind. He just kept getting more and more powerful into his adulthood, and not only did Byrne depower him greatly, he brought the parents back, so he had that support system that kept him grounded and kept the reminder that he is a kid from Kansas.
And it made it more relatable.
And Byrne was the first writer to write Clark Kent as the identity and Superman as the mask. And that's something that I think they should have never gotten away from again. And, to the people like Peter J. Tomasi and Joshua Williamson, to an extent, they do that. They don't completely dismiss the Clark Kent identity. So, which I do give him credit for that. But, Jeff Johns and Mark Waid, Clark Kent absolutely is the mask he wears to fool the public. And I've never once I got a taste of the other side of it, the only time I want that Clark Kent now is with Christopher Reeve playing him.
Well, and that's I think one of the biggest problems here. And it occurred to me when I was explaining the dynamic between Clark and Lex just now. I think the major issue with people writing Superman in this day and age is because of all the nihilistic, cynical, being grown up is to be broken and cynical and nihilistic attitude. You have writers who actually agree and philosophically align themselves more with Lex Luthor than they do with Clark Kent. They can't understand why someone with, quote unquote, all that power, because again, I maintain there are dozens of powers he doesn't have that are more powerful than the powers he does have. But they can't understand why a person wielding all that power, quote unquote, doesn't want to be a god, a tyrant, or a dictator.
Okay. Now I've got to talk because you just pushed my buttons. I just downed a freaking Sprite and my sugar level's high. Don't bring that weak shit to me. Don't bring that weak shit to my channel. When you see the movie, talk about the movie. Okay? But you literally have said the movie was... You said... At first you start off, well, I heard a lot of bad things about Superman movie. Yeah, of course. You're hearing any movie, any fucking movie that comes out now, people know that, it's going to bomb is the biggest fucking draw now. What is it? Elio, biggest bomb in Pixar history. No, it's not. Because you have two movies that didn't even make it to the fucking box office because the COVID bug. But oh my God, isn't it a great fucking story? Doesn't it get views? Yes, because for some people, that's what they're clicking on now. You haven't seen Superman. When the movie comes out, talk to me about it. But you do have a lot of people who are going to tell you straight up every goddamn time, this movie's a bomb. Like when you're looking through Netflix, you give a shit about how much money it makes. God damn it. This kind of thing pisses me off over and over. And but also, and then you say it's going to be better than the, or the BVS and Superman Man of Steel is better. We know the Snyderverse fans, oh my God, it's not Zack Snyder's storyline. That fucking shit is done. If you're a Snyderverse fan, congratulations. You got your DVDs. Go fucking watch them ad nauseum till the end of fucking time. The rest of the world's going to move on. You know what? I don't know if the Superman movie is going to be good. I hope so. I'm hoping for it. Same as Fantastic Four. It might suck. I don't know. But you know what? I'm going to judge that as much as I think the Pedro Pascal's getting on my last fucking nerve. I'm going to judge it when I fucking see it. So no, I don't want any of this. Oh, it's a bomb 5 fucking weeks before the movie comes out. And I know it's sooner than that. The one thing that pissed me off, I like Gary, I do. But the one thing that literally pissed me off was when we saw a fucking magazine image of Agatha all along, and he says, if you thought The Acolyte was bad, without even fucking seeing a frame of movie, a trailer or anything, that is what they make money on. That's their thing. When you see the movie, when they see the movie and they have an opinion, okay, it's an opinion. But until that happens, it's not a fucking opinion. So leave that shit off my channel.
You speaking of the Agatha,
I'm hopped up on sugar. You guys go on ahead.
Speaking of the Agatha thing, it's kind of funny to me because I remember when they were building that up. I remember when they were building up Agatha to be quote unquote the next Acolyte. And then when Agatha actually came out, almost no one actually talked about it because they went in expecting it to be as bad as The Acolyte, and it wasn't. And they realized, shit, if I can't say anything negative about this, then I can't review it, period. Because I don't want people to know that I think it's actually good. How dare they?
The worst TV show or movie could do is be fine. It's not bad. It's not good. It's fine. Yeah. But if England's mad that Fan forced to get bombed, I'm just mad that it was bad enough to bomb. But you know what? I could say that because I've seen the movie. Actually, more than once. I couldn't believe how bad it was. I watched it twice.
I will say I'm annoyed that we're 4 Dr. Dooms in and we're still not getting a proper Doom because they're going to do the stupid alternate universe Tony Stark thing.
Wait a minute. You've seen Fan Stick more than once?
I did. I have this.
Watch sports, will you?
I know, right? The thing is sometimes I'll watch a movie and I'm like, I cannot believe it was that bad. I watched Batman and Robin like 6 times before the DVD came out with the apology that I always wanted. And then I've watched the apology maybe 5 or 6 times.
Yeah,
for those of you who don't know,
still feels good all these years later.
For those of you who don't know, Joel Schumacher did a commentary on Batman and Robin. He spends the whole thing, oh, I'm sorry for this. Oh, I'm sorry for this. Oh, I'm sorry for this. So it's a lot of fun. Black pills will always be a thing, sadly, regardless if the movie is good or bad.
MK's not
nowadays. Wrong. Yeah. Hey, yeah, you're up.
Hey. MK's not wrong about the black pills, but I will say briefly about Batman and Robin. Even though it was objectively a crappy movie, it did give us a killer soundtrack.
Okay, yeah. Actually, I like
which is actually how I was introduced to the Smashing Pumpkins.
Okay, but the Tim Burton ones did too, and they also had good movie attached to that good soundtrack.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. During the commentary, as Joel Schumacher is apologizing for Batman and Robin, he also mentions how he knew it was a cartoon. He loved the Batman 66, so he made Batman 66. And when I watch it as a continuation of Batman 66, the movie works. Just saying.
Well, but the problem with both Batman and Robin, and to a lesser extent, and by a lesser extent I mean a much lesser extent, but still visible, with Batman Forever, is they brought Joel Schumacher in and either didn't tell him to watch the previous Tim Burton ones and or bits of the animated series, or they didn't know well enough to, because the thing that always screws my head up is that Batman Forever and Batman and Robin are supposed to be in the same universe as Batman 89 and Batman Returns. And under absolutely no circumstances could that even conceivably be supposed to be the case. Like that to me is more baffling than the fact that Batman and Robin exists. It's why in God's name didn't Warner Brothers have him watch the 2 previous movies in this franchise before letting him make 2 additions to it?
By the way, I do agree with what RDV said, how the Christopher Reeve Superman movie, the first one, will be the greatest of all time. I think it will, even if a better movie is made. I think it's like the Beatles. You know, some people may outsell the Beatles, but they'll never socially be as good, or culturally, I should say, would be as good as the Beatles.
Well, yeah.
Unless you're the Rolling Stones, of course.
You mean kind of like how Tim Burton's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is better than the Gene Wilder one, but no one will ever acknowledge that?
No, I don't mean that, because that's a legitimate fact. That I'm just kidding.
No, it isn't. As someone who read the book and was pissed that the book wasn't kept to,
accurate. I will say it's a more accurate telling. I don't know if I would say better.
Tim Burton's version of Willy Wonka is better than Gene Wilder's version, and I will go to my grave thinking that. That being said, I think the Timothée Chalamet version might be better than both of them, but that's neither here nor there.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Yeah, comics, don't take that outburst personally. Everybody that's known him for a while knows that that's just something he does.
Yeah.
Because there's a glitch in his matrix. He's done that to me before, and I just realized that he's a dick. And
there you go.
Put up with it,
so. I've gotten the "you're one of the black pills" speech like 5 separate times, and I keep basically just going, "No, you're not. You're arguing with Gary when in reality I am sitting here talking to you."
Here's the thing. I think it's a sugar and but I don't actually know what it is. But there's things where like I can be calm, and I can be calm, and I can be calm, and then a switch gets flicked, and I kind of.
To be fair, that is your triggered subject, no matter where your sugar is.
That is true, but the thing is, I don't. This is also the way my family's argued. Like we might want to go grab a sandwich. Yeah, okay, cool. You know, we're just that way, and I try not to be that way, but occasionally, boom.
Well, if it's any consolation, now. Those of us that know you, when you get about 10 seconds in, you turn into Charlie Brown's teacher.
MK, the Johnny Depp one is the Tim Burton one I was talking about. That's a more accurate rendition of the book and a more visually creative rendition of the book as well. So I will go to my grave insisting that the Gene Wilder one is massively overrated, and that the Tim Burton one was better.
Well, I'll say
because
this.
That is the case.
First of all, okay, yeah, I don't mean to upset you, comics. It was an outburst, but here's the thing: I will definitely respect your opinion, good or bad, after the movie has been released and we've seen it.
And to go back to my past one, and comics, the rest of us have been here for so long that you were probably the only person that actually heard what he was saying. So think of it as a command performance.
Yeah, because it does at some point just be like, and then like I said, because it is usually me that gets to be on the receiving end of it, because unlike E, I actually do try to keep my hand on the pulse of what the behind the scenes stuff is doing, and do actually consider it to be infective of the movie, and I actually prefer to have spoilers before going in, so that I can focus on how the thing that I know was being accomplished, rather than waiting for surprises.
And I hate spoilers, and not because I like to have the story unfold.
But here's the difference between us, E. I don't care to be surprised.
I do.
The more I know about something going in, the more I can focus on how it was accomplished, what choices were actually made, and what I can skip the analyzing portion and move straight to the dissecting portion, and I like to do that.
Okay. Sorry, I thought you had a period.
Also, because because the behind the scenes stuff can ultimately impact the end result, I prefer to have that knowledge going in, because ironically, it makes me more charitable if I know that the behind the scenes were a shit show than I otherwise would be, assuming there were no issues.
Okay.
Right.
I've got a question. Oh, go on ahead, Dominic, because you've been quiet throughout the entire thing.
Well, that's excuse me. I was gonna actually I want to make a comment to RW's point about the best Batman ever made objectively is Mask of the Phantasm, and to this day, so far, like it has like the other bad movies they can't they can't match obviously they're their own individual, but when it comes to like timelessness and how often people talk about it is mostly Mask of the Phantasm and Kevin Conroy.
That
Yeah,
actually
no.
let me step in because that I was going to say, all right, ladies and gentlemen in the chat, hear everything. What do you think the best Batman movie is? I have a hard time arguing against Batman Mask of the Phantasm, but for me it's The Dark Knight. I know that's the pad answer right now, but yeah, absolutely, that is the best Batman movie. It might not be the best Batman movie, but it's definitely the best movie with Batman. Go on, Dalton.
I already said this earlier. I still maintain that Mask of the Phantasm is the best theatrically released Batman movie, full stop.
Okay.
And Kevin Conroy will remain the best Batman. May he rest in peace.
Yeah,
And
uncontestable. Yeah, uncontestable.
How about you, Eric?
Well, my favorite will always be Batman '89 because it was the first of the modern Batman movies. In the same way that I have, it does for me what the first Christopher Reeve Superman does for you. You know, right place, right time, however you want to put it. Maybe it was that I would argue that no superhero movie before or since came with the same pageantry because the changes in entertainment hear me out, from 1978 versus 1989. When you think of the things, you know what changed in between that? the proliferation of cable television.
Yep.
So MTV, that was all you heard about on that. They did the openings that you remember 6 months later when it came out on video cassette. What a big deal that was. That wasn't a big deal when a year after the first Christopher Reeve because it wasn't a thing yet. So it's the right place, right time for that kind of stuff. And just the going to the I remember I hate Taco Bell, but I went every day for 4 weeks to get the new Batman cup. I mean, it was a major event, and the movie didn't disappoint. And so I'm not going to say it's the best. I'm never going to say it's the best, but it's my favorite. And if I can only keep one of them, it's that. Just because it brings back the feels, as the kids say. It just everything surrounding that was just magic.
And to Eric's point, one, as a millennial, born in the mid '90s, I almost broke the VHSs of Batman and Batman Returns because I watched them so much as a kid. But also, in relation to the whole commercial aspect that Eric was just talking about, not only was that the case, but they brought it home. Because I remember on my Batman '89 VHS, there was the Looney Tunes tie-in for the Warner Brothers catalog, which is just as nostalgic in my brain as the movie is. Because every time I would watch Batman '89, and I watched it almost enough to break the VHS when I was a kid, it always opened right before the movie with that Looney Tunes short.
It was also on Lethal Weapon 2.
And Batman Returns has a similar thing with the Diet Coke commercial. Or was that also on '89?
Okay, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was also on the VHS. So I at least got a little taste of that post hoc because it was still there when the movie came to VHS.
Let me bring the chat into this. Austin saying he's no longer a spoiler nut, but let's get the Batman stuff. Black Spider says Batman movie where the old Robin becomes the Joker. That was Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, something like that. Yeah. Black Spy. Okay, MK. I would say The Dark Knight and the Batman by far for Batman movies as far as live movies. Batman Returns for my third favorite. And who is hotter to you guys, Scarlett Johansson or Sydney Sweeney, ScarJo? Okay, let me.
She's not running. No.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
She's
Okay.
prettier.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. I
But
get
she's
it. I
also
get it.
not apologizing for being hot.
I will tell you, this is my take on Sydney Sweeney. I've looked at her more than a couple of times. All right. So I honestly do believe she's a pretty lady. I think and I've got to go prime versus prime. Not ScarJo's 40 years old, you know. Okay. But prime versus prime, I would go ScarJo. I think Sydney Sweeney is an average pretty girl that has a couple of assets that launches her into hotness. Like she is like, without the boobs she'd be here, but with the boobs she's here.
She's the girl next door that just happens to have a rack that you could put guns on, so to speak.
Okay, now Scarlett Johansson, those are her best attributes as well.
Well, yeah, she's no slouch.
I mean, I put them. They have a lot of similarities. They have different looking faces. They're not the classic, like, Victoria's Secret runway cover of a fashion magazine face. They're both, like I said, they're both known for their boobs. But again, I said Scarlett Johansson is. I said I am so, and this doesn't really enter it, but I'm so sick of her. Hell, she's running her mouth again this week.
Oh,
saying
that can
I
do
played
it.
all those roles for the male gaze, and I wish I hadn't done it now. And
after she's didn't give the money away.
Yeah, I put that right up there with the Megan Rapinos and the little gymnast saying that men should be able to compete because it's like they got out of the sports and then left the door open for the men to walk in. Now that they don't have to compete against them, screw that. Just shut up.
Let me. Okay, go on ahead and. Oh, you're answering. Okay, go on ahead.
I agree.
Make it short.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ethereal Dragon. One thing that always takes me out of the Batman Dracula movie there is when Bruce goes hunting for a science behind vampirism, and I'm like,
oh, you're way far down.
The Batman exists in the DC universe, and he knows there are literal magic users. And in particular, in the Batman's universe, he's fought a character named Spellbinder who used magical Tibetan hypnosis before. So it always pisses me off when they over-science Batman, and it's like, no, he definitively knows that the supernatural exists. Like, he is on speaking terms with literal deities. God damn it!
Okay,
let's see. Piss you off when you over Dalton something?
I agree, by the way, David Patrick Kelly would have made a great Joker back in the day. I would have put James Woods though. When they were making Batman '89, James Woods was really an upcoming actor. He has a Brian Boland Joker face, the way it's kind of elongated and everything, especially back in the day. I would have dressed him up like Brian Boland's Joker. Absolutely.
Everyone loves Jack Nicholson's Joker only because they never got to see William Dafoe as the Joker.
I actually, controversial opinion time. I don't think that's the
only reason. But.
Don't say stupid stuff.
Controversial opinion time. I don't like Jack Nicholson's Joker because it's too obviously Jack Nicholson. Other Joker actors have successfully disappeared into the role. Jack Nicholson didn't. He just turned up the Jack Nicholson dial or two.
Different kind of movies, though. He had the ability to do it if that had been what the movie called for. And by the way, Abe Bankman, you guys said David Patrick Kelly would have been a great Joker. You know where we know him from, right?
I don't know.
Remember when I said I would kill you last?
Oh,
it's Sully,
the Weasel guy.
Yes,
isn't he also from Dreamscape?
Yep.
Well, I said, he
plays the bad guy in Dreamscape.
He had a great career playing weasels for about a decade.
Yeah.
No, he was one of the greatest weasel on Billy Madison, though. No, honestly, when it comes to
Austin, I disagree.
ScarJo's so full of herself. Even if she take away the boobs, she's a bitch. Sydney Sweeney took away the boobs. She's a nice person.
So far, she
Well,
has. I mean,
I had a great quote about her. It said, "She seems to be the only woman in Hollywood who actually enjoys being a woman." Remember when she did the video for the Rolling Stones, their new album, where she basically did the Tawny Katane bit on the car hood?
Who was the black actress?
And all the
from
feminists, went nuts, and she basically said, "Up yours."
Who was that conservative black actress from Clueless?
Stacey Dash.
Stacey Dash. She's the only one that comes to mind. And then you have the Buffy the Vampire Slayer girl.
Sarah Michelle Gellar.
No, Kirsty Swanson.
Yeah, because I say Sarah Michelle Gellar was a Republican, but she's
far left.
She's far left now.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, hanging out with Joss Whedon for 20 years will do that to you.
Which doesn't make sense.
Stacey Dash in the 2000s would have made a great Catwoman.
Mm-hmm.
I think she could have done that. Have you ever danced with the devil under the pale moonlight? Jack Nicholson. I don't know. I'm looking forward to both the Fantastic Four and Superman. I just don't want to hear the actors off screen.
I'm not really looking forward to either of them, to be honest with you.
I'm looking forward to both of them. Looking forward to watching Superman basically blow up like Barbie, and then watching them cry over at Marvel because no one's watching it.
It's not. I sincerely doubt we're in a Barbenheimer or Barbie situation there, Bankman.
You can doubt all you want.
My prediction is Superman is gonna hit about the mid 500s worldwide, and Fantastic Four is probably gonna wind up between Captain America 4 and Thunderbolts. Those are my predictions, box office wise.
Thunderbolts was enjoyable, but it still bombed.
It bombed, but it's not bad, and that seems to be that's what triggers me. A lot of people are associating bomb with bad. I could give you a fuck ton of movies that the community loves, even though they bombed, including The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China. Neither one of them did well.
From the trailers, Thunderbolts looked like it was. You know those movies you see on the wall where the actor is no longer doing theater movies, he's doing straight to DVDs? That's what Thunderbolts was to me.
Yeah, I've got
it does kind of feel that way.
If you listen to the Black Pills, if you go, you watch their videos. I ask you. I beg you. Next time they get on big old rants or they put on the Twitter, oh, this bombed. So what? Again,
we're here. This channel bombed.
What?
We're still here.
Yeah, are you? Yeah, exactly. Are you saying? Are you saying that The Thing is a bad movie? Are you saying that?
Which one?
That Alice in Wonderland from Disney that bombed? Are you saying that's a bad movie? Are you saying that the Thing or Big Trouble with Little China, Blade Runner? Are you saying that's a bad movie? This budget was so big fucking deal.
Here's the
movie.
Here's the thing. What's really plaguing Marvel is because they made everything straight to the stream within like a month.
Oh, later. Disney Plus ate the movie industry.
If they get rid of Disney Plus,
yeah,
people would actually go to the theater and actually see it because now they actually have to go.
Well, streaming in general's hurt the movie industry because they want their streaming services to do so well. They cut the distribution. The way it used to work was that you would have your movie run, and your movie would run through the theaters organically. When it was done, it was done. 3 months, 6 months after, usually 6 months after that, you have the DVD release. And then it would have its run. And then when that was done, generally about 3 or 6 months, then it would show up on HBO or Cinemax or something like that.
Yeah, now we're lucky.
Holy shit, 2 months later, it's on.
Yeah, now we're lucky if it lasts 2 months, to be honest with you.
And by doing that, you have people saying, well, I'll just wait 2 months. I'll see it when it comes on streaming. Instead of you have to wait 8 months to a year, which it used to be. And since they don't have that Blu-ray, they don't have their second opening, it's hurt the industry.
Is Ironheart bad? No spoilers, please. I'll just say this: I'd rather gouge my eyes out.
Based on the Ironheart,
the show.
I watched the first episode. I will not watch any others. I don't care if I got a comic book channel.
The show's actually racist against Ironheart.
Thieves are black people.
I unfortunately got grandfathered into watching it because someone, Mr. E2099, sent me an image where it showed Riri using magic, and now I have to kill you. Is where my brain is at with this, because
you better bring a bigger gun because that's a big boy there.
Because of all,
you shoot him with a regular gun, you're just gonna piss him off.
Because of all the stupid, inconceivable things to change about her character. One, why would you have her fight the Hood to begin with? At best, that honestly, that character should be fighting like Cloak and Dagger or somebody like that.
But, oh my God! Are you telling me that this character that steals her tech, that's got an antisocial, it's just antisocial to the core, and her villain is literally the Hood?
Yeah, she's the Hood, bro.
You know the meta is there also, but more to the point, why of all the things you could and should have changed about Riri Williams? Because this is the thing with America Chavez, they actually did her right in Multiverse of Madness because they got rid of most of the insufferable Gabby Rivera-isms. But instead of fixing the moral bankruptcy and utter just abrasiveness that is Riri Williams, you decided to quote unquote fix her by making her a magic user, even though that makes no fucking sense for her character.
I get a question though. Is she using the Nordic stones? That's what the Hood uses. And that's how she gets her magic.
No, the Hood's power is a magical hood.
He actually was in the comic books was using the Nordic stones. And Loki wanted to steal.
What's
up? Walton besmirched Gabby Rivera. Make him apologize.
I know, right?
I'm not apologizing, Eric.
Yes.
My hatred for Gabby Rivera's use of arcade having
May your cable system delete all of your channels except for sports.
Eric, I haven't turned on the TV in like 3 months. So you're gonna have a long wait.
Dalton, I do need you to respect that I Love Comics is the house that Gabby Rivera built.
Also, can we make it so it's not just sports? It has to be the WNBA.
Okay, first of all, my family doesn't even have cable anymore. We switched to streaming a long time ago. And second of all, I haven't turned on a TV in like a month. So you're gonna have a long wait there, mi compadres. But here's another stupidity of making Riri Williams a magic user for no explicable reason. Because now, literally every character in the Young Avengers has a magic tie-in. And normally that would make me happy, but considering that only America and our beloved based teen there, Billy, are actually non-insufferable characters, and I know the actress for Miss Marvel's is an actual geek, she's an actual geek and she tries, but she's not being written well, and therein lies the problem.
Hold on, wait. Okay, first of all, so I've got to stop. The Kamala Khan TV show was good. That is something. It was good. Second of all, the only good parts of that Marvel's piece of shit was the three of them talking. The characters were written well. It was the action, the villain, the plot, everything surrounding them was so horribly bad.
Yeah,
all the good was just
unspeakable. But yeah,
and that little girl, God bless her, that little girl carries enough charisma that even Brie fucking Larson looked interesting for 5.
I like that show so much. I put ice cream on my pizza. Don't you remember that was in the show?
I don't know what that means.
The one kid
Yes, I remember that being a thing. It was insufferable at the time, but
at least
point
they dropped her
being,
wanting to be okay, the motivation. It's all money now. God damn it! I fast forward. Quick review time. I watched Riri Williams season 1, episode 1, and I got to admit, I got to about maybe a quarter through, and then I kept advancing 30 seconds. You know, you hit the thing, or 10 seconds, or however, you just hit the button once. Okay, are they going to say something interesting? No. How about now? No. How about now? No. How about now? No. Oh, wait, something said, no, that's not interesting either. This show is written poorly. It was bad. Now, I heard that it picks up with second and third or the episodes, but I'll never find
the worst show to name on Marvel is still Jessica Jones season 3, and I challenge you to find anything worse than that.
You know something that just occurred to me that makes the whole Riri becoming a magic user inexplicably worse thing is they're probably using that to set up Doom, because they're making Doom an alternate universe version of Tony Stark based on the infamous Iron Man storyline and the what if Tony Stark was the Sorcerer Supreme storyline. So they might be turning Riri into a magic user for the sake of setting up Doom being into both tech and magic. Which, my God, why do you have to choose the absolute stupidest way possible to do that? Why couldn't they just have called Mads Mikkelsen back in and go, hey, Mads, I know we kind of railroaded you by having you be a one-off character in Caecilius. You want to play the character you were made in a lab specifically to play? And be the most iconic character ever?
It's mainly because he's not black. That's the truth. I'm sorry, but they want Riri Williams. They want Riri Williams. That for a specific reason. And I got to tell you, they just, this should be like the producers. Riri Williams, the Ironheart, should be the greatest TV show of all time. They got a horrible director. They got horrible actors. They got I don't know who okayed her as the actress to play Riri Williams. They got everything about it. It seems like it was just gathered for the wrong reasons, the wrong people. Honestly, this should be as brilliant as Springtime for Hitler. That's all I'm saying.
It's not yet as insufferable as She-Hulk, but I'm sure it will get there, unfortunately.
Wasn't this show held back a couple of years?
Yeah, it was.
Yes.
So that's why it's so awful.
Dominic, do you have anything to say here? I know Dalton's been taking most of the time, but you know.
Dalton, you just speak up and you tell him to shut up if you want to talk.
Let's see. I'm playing Party Man in the background, says Austin. MK says, okay, question. Which would you say is worst if you had to rank them? Batwoman, Naomi, or She-Hulk, or Ironheart? I finished She-Hulk, so she's the best of them.
I haven't seen Ironheart. So
Ironheart because I refused to watch episode 2, which I did for Naomi and Batwoman. So, I gotta say Ironheart.
I can't see Ironheart being worse than She-Hulk, but
then watch it.
I would go so far as to say that Naomi is probably the best of the bunch, just based on it being the only one left that I don't have a horrible opinion of.
Was there a season 3 of Batwoman? I don't think there was. I think it canceled. There's supposed to be a season 3. It ended on season 2. Yeah.
It will never cease to enrage me that the Matt Ryan Constantine didn't even get a full series run. He got a half a season run.
Drink.
And Batwoman got 3 seasons. God damn it!
I don't think he got 3 seasons though. I think he only got 2.
But either way, it still got more than Matt Ryan's Constantine,
well,
and that is a crime against nature.
That's not the CW's problem. That's NBC taking on a superhero show. They don't do that. That was them. Yeah. They realized, you know what? Our audience, which is 70 plus, would rather watch Law and Order.
And to be fair, I mean, I said that's all well and good that Matt Ryan's, Constantine didn't get a full season, but the bigger Travis Shamockery.
Oh no! Don't say it.
They took both of Zed's off the air too soon.
Right.
So The what?
Both of Zed's. Okay.
Is that the actress?
Sydney Sweeney, ScarJo.
Okay.
The actress that played Zed. Yeah, they did it. They did it. There's a scene that started with an overhead shot looking down her top. It was like, woo. All the magic in the world couldn't make those any better than they were.
And what was this show called?
Constantine.
Oh, okay. I didn't see it. I didn't see it.
The big bearded dude that ran around with him, and this.
Okay.
This
We need to back up. E, have you never seen Matt Ryan's Constantine show?
Never.
Said that.
It was great.
Yeah.
And
okay. Hey, the time, ladies and gentlemen, has come for us to strap Eglantine into the Ludovico technique chair from A Clockwork Orange.
Oh,
this is not a drill, folks.
Okay, I just typed in Constantine, Zed, and boobs. So, okay, yeah, she's
all right.
She's,
so here,
she's appropriate.
I was wrong. We did review all 3 seasons of Batwoman on the channel here. So there was 3 seasons.
I was gonna say, I remember you guys talking about season 3, so there must have been 3 seasons.
I'm trying to remember which season one had Black Mask and Zaz on, and dude, it was like
that was. I think that was season 2.
Every time they tried to make like the villain be the bad guy, the villain was always the good guy in the show. It was hilarious. I love the Black Mask.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think that real quick, I think they missed their window too because she was. Late 30s when that show was on, so she's probably early 50s now, and whereas Matt Ryan could still pull it off, probably not so much. So that's just going to be one of the great. You're just like Terrier should have gotten a second season. Zed should have at least gotten.
Here's what I would have
done.
Right. I would have brought back the cast for Swamp Thing, and then do the branching off of a new Constitution with a. Matt Ryan.
MK is asking, are we excited to see Sandman season 2?
Absolutely not. I can't watch. I am going to watch it because I am the guy who must have an opinion on the subject. But not only are they likely going to skip over a lot of the one-off stories, which were the best stories in the later Sandman issues,
the cats and all that.
And skip right to the stupidity of the Kindly Ones in the Wake right after Season of Mist.
Well, this is going to be Season of Mist, so they're not going to have the Testament of Cats.
She said this is going to be a season to miss.
Yes.
But the problem is this is the end of the show because Neil Gaiman got Me Too'd, so they had to rush Season 2 through.
Like
which means they have to cram Season of Mist, the Kindly Ones, and the Wake all into one season, and because a lot of the good Sandman stories are one-off stories, they're probably going to skip over most of the actually good stuff and skip right to the stupidity of the Kindly Ones and the Wake, which are the worst parts of the Sandman. Because Neil Gaiman didn't want people playing with his toys after he was done with them, so he killed off a character whose whole fucking thing is that he is Death's favorite brother and that he's supposed to be an endless being. But because Neil Gaiman got pissy, we now have to make the story about him dying, even though that makes him fucking sense. I hate the ending of the story so much, and now we're only going to be getting that.
You find out what the rest of us have known for all time. Neil Gaiman sucks.
And say that I'm glad that you changed the title because Fallen Anal by Peter David and David Lopez would have been a horrible title.
Oh my god!
Oh dear!
I didn't notice I missed the G, man.
That may have been the most fortuitous title change in the history of
the title at YouTube, so everybody else should be coming in.
It changed, but I saw it earlier, and then I was reminded when I saw it because it still appears in Streamers.
So we were censoring Invaders. Fallen Anal just sails right through. The fuck
you
Oh, that's funny. That is some funny shit right there. It does. This is actually when we're looking at this, it's got the old title for it, and it looks like I missed the G, and this is actually what we see as the title. That right there is in the comments. That's what we see as the title. What you're reading, Fallen Angel.
I'm surprised no one said anything to you.
Nobody, not one. Even while we're waiting and we started up, nobody mentioned that we're
sure it's misspelled, but
there you go.
MK, you may not have been here when I was recounting this story for like the third time.
Don't do it for a fourth.
But
okay, go ahead.
I didn't hear it. Start over again.
But Neil Gaiman's run of the Sandman was so formative to me that in roundabout 2015, it saved me from being suicidally depressed. Which, of course, got really bittersweet again once the ending happened. But that's why when I revisit Sandman, I stop right at the World's End trade and do not proceed further than that.
I
because
like
the
World's
kind of ones
End.
in the wake are absolutely terrible.
I like World's End, but it's only the kindly ones, and that
Series End. But
there you go.
Nobody asked me.
Okay, what do we think about Disney Direct Video sequels? Ask Comics. I bought it. My daughters were of the age, so we bought them. They watched them. Cinderella 3 is really good. Little Mermaid 2 is passable. The Hunchback 2 is trash. Actually, most of them are garbage. But those are the only two that I could actually say. Oh, Goofy Extreme Movie. That one was good. That one was legitimately good, and Cinderella 3 was good.
I was going to say this.
Yeah.
I didn't find out that there actually was even direct DVD or VHS sequels until I was well into my 20s. And I was like, what the shit is this stuff? And then I watched was it Treasure Planet, whatever it was, the sequel, whatever it was? And
no, Treasure
Planet. There wasn't a sequel to Treasure Planet. What the fuck?
No, Treasure Planet was its own movie.
Oh no, Atlantis was the Atlantis one. That's what it was. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was great.
The one that was supposed to be a pilot for a Atlantis show that I really wish had happened. God damn it!
No.
I did not like it.
You didn't like it?
And I was like, why do we need another Little Mermaid? Why do we need Cinderella too? It's like, if you don't understand the first movie, they give you a second one so you can reinforce it more.
All the unanswered questions, I guess. I don't know.
But here's, as the only one who actually watched them when they were coming out on this panel, probably,
I just literally said.
You don't count. It's only Dalton's show.
Okay, well, it has been so far.
You were speaking as a father of people who had been of age when it was happening. I am actually of an age of when it happened.
That's right. You were that.
Okay, go ahead.
Right?
I liked Little Mermaid 2 fine. Mulan 2 was a disgrace. Hunchback 2 I don't mind, but it's not very good. Atlantis: The Lost Empire 2, which was actually
Pocahontas 2 was all right, and
Aladdin
Return, not the Return of the Jafar, the Prince of Thieves,
King of Thieves.
That one was good.
All the Aladdin sequels were actually probably the best of the bunch.
Well, the second one, God bless him, what's his name, who does the voices, Simpson, Homer Simpson, stepped
Dan
in.
Castellaneta.
Yeah, say again.
Castellaneta.
No, what'd you say, Eric?
I thought Dan Castellanos or something like that.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Castellaneta.
Castellaneta. Oh, I know Dan Cast or something.
Yeah, he's okay, but it was jarring not to hear Robin Williams.
Yeah, but much like everything relating to Treasure Planet and Atlantis: The Lost Empire, I really wish those movies had a larger impact on Disney, because the worlds of Treasure Planet and Atlantis: The Lost Empire were so interesting. And if we had actually gotten the Atlantis: The Lost Empire show that movie was, 3 unaired pilots of, that would have been so good, because that was also the era of Disney's Gargoyles, which proved that Disney could do a serious action cartoon, because Disney's Gargoyles was basically their answer to Batman the Animated Series. And I think that if Atlantis the show had gotten off the ground, it might have been equivalent to something like Justice League, maybe.
Okay. Dom, any thoughts? Are you there? Man, he's been quiet on these.
He's been there, but as you don't hear him, you hear everyone screaming around him, like kids and stuff, wherever he's at.
Let's see. I just watched the Stitch movie and Lilo and Stitch 2. Stitch was mad. Lilo and Stitch 2 was surprisingly competent in both story and animation. Okay.
Just
you call me-
Mulan 2 is a meme of a movie, though it does have one of the better animated
Dude, I
sequels.
just saw one behind something.
you're not
today.
wrong about Mulan too.
What do you? Okay.
No, I was saying I was driving somewhere and I looked at and the person in front of me, their license plate said Simba.
Ah.
And I was like,
Dom, give us your take on the whole Disney sequel thing, because you would
had
have been
12
at
minutes on the
VH.
clock.
Yes.
Very,
Yeah, have until I
very
get back
hit or
from
miss.
no, I'm just kidding. Okay.
That'll be a forever year old.
But the better sequels, like for like the Disney movies, would have to be for Aladdin. Excuse me, it has to be for Aladdin, Lilo and Stitch. Excuse me, actually Leroy and Stitch. So
Leroy
as
and
well
Stitch?
as
What?
The
Lilo and
third
Stitch
one.
too. Yeah.
Leroy is 627.
Like no, it's 628.
Right, because Jumbo was already working on 627 as for the ending of Lilo and Stitch 2.
Yes, and Lilo and Stitch 2, it takes place before Stitch the movie, which leads into Lilo and Stitch the series.
Yep.
Even though like one of the comments said like Mulan 2 like is a meme of a movie, it's not terrible. It's not the greatest, but it's not terrible. I just wish that they didn't have to like portray like Bushu like in that fashion, especially trying to like break like Mulan and like Shen up in order so he could keep his job. But also the ancestors, like they were like written out of character.
Yeah, that didn't help things.
I don't remember them that much, because I watched them once with the kids, and then after that they became, okay, you want to put this on, you do this while I read a book or something like that.
Well, that's why I was kind of dismissing you as a dad of the generation as opposed to a member of the generation, because for us, stuff like that was formative. For you, it was, oh, this weird thing my kids are doing.
Let me see what we got here. I thought Lion King 2, Simba Pride was. I like the one with Timon and Pumbaa, and they go in and out of the.
One and a half.
Yeah.
One and a half. Yeah.
And I also thought Hunchback of Notre Dame 2 was okay. Like 101 Dalmatians. Let's see. Was Eglantine in Porky's the movie? I was too young to be in Porky's. But by Porky's 3, you can actually, because it was filmed in Florida, there is a scene where they're all standing just a little bit. They're by what's supposed to be the gym, and you can see the entrance. You'll see me walk up.
I'm sorry, when I hear Lilo and Stitch, it sounds like a movie that was made in the hood.
I want to see Leroy and Snitch.
I know, right? Yeah.
Simba Pride is one of the examples of the better sequels like to the Disney Renaissance films.
Yep.
Oh, goodness gracious. That is, by the way, no, I wasn't in Porky's 3 either. I would have only been like 15. So, yeah. No,
Can I
quote
Venkman real quick?
Go on ahead.
Yeah, when he gave Dominic 12 minutes, he said, or you said until I get back from pissing, and Venkman said it'll be that long because you're old.
Yeah.
No, that's the problem, Venkman. They're not long. That's why they're so frequent throughout the night.
After a while, it's all about quantity, not quality.
Yes.
You have lost the battle with your bladders, is what you're saying.
You're gonna say that you're gonna stand up for Dominic. He gets where's his 12 minutes? He got like 2 minutes, and then
I know, right? Dominic. Okay, Dominic. Another thing. I don't know what. Ladies and gentlemen, I do need to hit the head. Ask Dominic a question, and there you go. You guys take it. I'll be right back.
Dominic, what is your thoughts on the Superman movie or the Fantastic Four movie? Which one are you more excited to watch, and why?
I would rather watch the new Mission Impossible movie, or even watching Megan 2.
So you don't care for either movies coming out?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, Dom. I'm not really excited for either of them. They both seem like they have massive flaws that are going to cripple them. To be honest with you.
But I'll say like with the Superman movie, where like it had the makings to be something great. Where like that is like that is of like equal quality as, of course, like the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. However, it's so far, well, based on observation, it's shown that James Gunn, like, he should not be the one in charge of this
Yeah,
new
the cracks
cinematic
are
universe of
showing
the
already,
Joker.
and it hasn't even come out yet.
Yeah, and even though Gunn himself, he is shown to be a genuine comic book fan, like the actors who have played Kamala. Well, even though, what's funny is like Marvel anime like is written Kamala Khan as better character than over here West, but that's neither here nor there. With Gunn, even though he's an ascended fan, like he represents the type of fans that don't necessarily respect like what came before as well as the continuity.
Well, he's also a fan of more obscure stuff in general, and this is something that has bothered me ever since he decided to write the thing. He said years ago when, Guardians 2 was coming out, would you write a Superman movie? And his response was no, because I don't really understand the character. Now, I will grant you that he probably did research between then and now, but it strikes me that if I were a person who didn't really like Superman, what I would do if I were tasked with writing a Superman movie is I would add a whole bunch of extra characters to the movie that aren't Superman to eat up the screen time so that I didn't have to focus on Superman. And as we know, thanks to the casting calls and everything, that is basically what James Gunn is doing, which aside from anything else means that Warner Brothers hasn't learned a goddamn thing.
Oh, that's been for 50 years.
That's exactly what one of the largest problems with VVS was, with all the setup for other stuff later. And it's like, you guys seriously are telling me you are gonna make the exact same mistake again, only like 5 years later? What the hell?
Just keep in mind that the story for Man of Steel and BVS, like, that was done by David Goyer, not Snyder himself.
I want to ask Breen, you had a question. Do you remember it?
Yeah, I do, actually. If you go back to the marketing for Captain of Many Different Things and Thunderbolts, it seemed like even while they were marketing those movies, they knew they were DOA. But it feels like Fantastic Four is getting the full treatment, like the teaser at the Super Bowl, drips and drabs, and now full
because they're trying to force it because they know Doom is coming, and if they don't do at least a college try with Fantastic Four, and they have to pivot the whole plot on Doom the way they had to pivot the whole plot on Thanos in Infinity War, that's really gonna bomb. It's probably gonna bomb anyway, considering that this Doom is an alternate universe version of Tony Stark by way of infamous Iron Man and by way of What If Tony Stark Was Sorcerer Supreme, a storyline both storylines that neither Iron Man fans nor Doctor Doom fans nor Doctor Strange fans like, but they are doing it anyway because they think they can just magically conjure up the same energy because RDJ's back.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. They think that they have the love. Go ahead.
But the unfortunate thing that they're going to realize is people don't like RDJ just because he's RDJ. They like him as Tony Stark because that is a perfect match between actor and character. And if you make him play a character who's not Tony Stark, which Doom, even in this weird bastardized version, isn't going to be, it's going to fall flat on its ass. And given that that's supposed to be the central linchpin of all of Secret Wars and Doomsday, I don't have high hopes. Never mind that 2 out of 3 of all the projects Marvel's done since the beginning of Phase 4 haven't tied into the multiversial plot at all, and half of the ones that have been either mediocrely bad or historically bad. So good luck making a movie that ties all those things together, considering that 2/3 of them are rotten and nonsensical.
Your normies that are watching TV aren't thinking like that when they see commercials emphasizing the family structure of these characters, who a lot of them may know a few of the names but know nothing about it. It just seems like what they did wrong maybe with the other ones, or like they used to do with the more successful ones. They're giving this movie every chance to succeed. And then Superman's doing the same thing. I mean, you can't swing a dead cat without seeing a commercial for one of those two movies now.
Yeah.
And I think, the projections some of you guys had in these movies, I think they're both going to do better than you think.
I doubt it. I think, if anything, they were already going to be kind of hit or miss to begin with. And the fact that they're going opposite each other is going to end up crippling them both.
Maybe, maybe not. Sometimes, there's a reason why there are Burger Kings next to McDonald's.
I mean to be fair, just for the record, and this is what makes me different from the black pills. I hope I'm wrong. I just don't like. I just don't like being an ostrich and ignoring the writing on the wall when I think I can see it.
It's Superman that comes out first, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
it's all that's what it's gonna rely on. Fantastic Four is going to be reliant on Superman more than Superman is going to be reliant on Fantastic Four.
I get what you're saying there.
The weird thing is I do believe that Captain America.
4.
No. Yeah, 4. Okay, whatever it was called. Yeah, Brave New World. That being as bad as it was, even though it was it actually had a lot of people go see it. It wasn't a hit because the budget was over. It was over budget, but the thing is, a lot of people went to see it. Let's not take away from that. People are like, oh, this movie bombed only because of the budget, not because people didn't want to see it. That's one thing that those black pills don't pay attention to. Same with, budget. By the way, and don't comment on this. Same, by the way, as The Little Mermaid. So people are excited to see these movies. The whole thing is they got to bring the budgets down. But the Captain America hurt Thunderbolts. So people are riding a superhero high with Thunderbolts. Okay? Because not a lot of people who went and saw it, but the people who did came back saying either it was all right or it was good. So now you got Superman. Superman's next. And if it does well, there's enough people who just think superheroes equals Marvel. They don't know that Superman's not Marvel. They're going to go, okay, that one's good. Let's go see this one. And I think it really, really does. It's all on Superman if Fantastic Four is going to do the numbers that, in all honesty, I hope it does, because I would like to see them continue to make superhero movies. I just don't want to see them over budgeted and bad writing. And like Captain America was like 4 movies stitched together. It was really a ridiculous film.
I think
because they kept having to rewrite it.
Eric started speaking. Let him take it.
No, I was just saying real quick. I kind of liken it to going to a comic book show, and you're looking around, you can't find anything, so you're thinking, "Oh man, this show's going to be a bust." Then you find that dealer that has all kinds of stuff you want. Then all of a sudden, all the dealers that you kind of just went by and didn't really pay attention to, their stuff starts looking better. If Superman clicks, you're going to re-whet the appetite for superhero movies. And you're right. I think that would benefit Fantastic Four greatly. It also wouldn't hurt if Jurassic World gets a good word of mouth, because if people get back in I got to go to the movies again and just, hit all
the blockbuster high, so to speak.
And here's the thing with normies, they don't read comic books, so they're not be looking at this as a comic book movie. They're looking at this as another movie from Marvel. They might like the characters, and maybe some of them actually are old enough to remember watching the 2015 or what it was, like it was 2005, 2007.
Yeah, it's been 20 years.
Yeah. They might like that one, but here's the thing. If the thing isn't going around yelling clobbering time in the movie, that's going to put it off for me personally. I don't know what normies.
That's the setup.
He only said it once. He only said it once in the Fan 4 stick, and that one bombed. RDB may be onto something.
I'm saying if he does say it, I hope it's not at the freaking end of the movie where it's like Steve. Remember, Avengers and it's gone.
Yeah. Finally, the whole anticlimax thing is just a bad habit that modern writers have gotten into in general. But the thing with Cap 4 was it initially was going to tie into a bunch of stuff from the TV side of things. It was originally going to tie together Falcon and the Winter Soldier and She-Hulk, but Falcon and the Winter Soldier and She-Hulk were so like universally crap that they blinked and went, shit, we have to overhaul the entire movie twice. And that's why it feels so stitched together randomly in the version that we got, because the initial idea was going to be that the leader was going to create an entire series of Hulks, and Jen was going to be there to help Sam deal with that whole scenario, and it was going to tie stuff from She-Hulk and Falcon and the Winter Soldier in, but nobody liked Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and nobody liked She-Hulk, so Marvel, probably wisely, let's be honest, went, shit, if we get rid of everything that was going to be bad, maybe it'll just kind of be mediocre, and it'll just kind of do mediocre, which, to be honest, it kind of did. So, fair enough.
Eric, can you help me out here? Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I just know Falcon and Snowman.
Okay, that's what he's Falcon and the Snowman. Okay,
the one with globalist super soldier Antifa supervillains that were apparently the good guys, don't you know?
Yeah, as far as the Falcon and the Snowman and stuff like that, I think a lot of people still prefer what's his name, U.S. Agent.
U.S. Agent?
Because he didn't do anything wrong.
No, U.S. Agent didn't do anything wrong.
And sorry, Sam Wilson is
I agree.
Sam Wilson's a fucking boring character in the MCU. You get rid of Steve, and he loses that appeal. You try to do it with Bucky, and it doesn't work, because if they wanted to do that, Sam should have stayed Falcon. He should have had Bucky be Captain America.
Well, no. Here's what they honestly should have done. They should have done a buddy cop movie with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where they realize, okay, nobody but Steve can be Captain America, but if we work together as a buddy cop duo, we might be able to equal the hole that he left. That would have been a smart move, because let's be honest, making Captain America a mantle didn't even work in the comics.
Well, the thing is every time, and you'll hear it with the, you didn't mind it when Nightwing took over Batman. Yeah, you did. The whole point of all of those Switch stories was that the only person.
Prove that Bruce
can you look at Dalton, please?
Sorry.
Okay, you got to. I'm sorry. Love you, man. But okay, you got to. Pay attention to everybody. Let everybody have a chance to speak. I think he's gone. Sorry, I didn't mean to chase him. It's just every time somebody
here's my
else
thing. Just hit the mute button after a while, and then eventually get there.
Didn't mean to chase you off, Dalton. But what was I saying? God damn it! Now I lost my track of thought. I didn't mean to chase him off.
Talking about Sam Wilson.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Sam Wilson be Captain America.
Oh yeah! Every time that happened, you were supposed to. You're supposed to understand the only person who could be Batman is Bruce Wayne. The only person who could be Captain America is Steve Rogers. Once again, Dalton, I didn't mean to chase you off. I just wanted you to respect the other speakers, because he was bumping over everybody who was talking.
I still haven't heard Dominic yet.
Yeah, Dominic has been really quiet on this one.
I only know you're there when I hear kids screaming in the background. I'm wondering what's going on. I'm more intrigued by that. Because aren't you already at college?
No, it's my cousins.
Okay. Nobody's trying to escape the basement?
No. Oh, that's why I was listening in, but still that way hear like that, the background noise like of my cousins like hanging out with each other as well as with their friends.
See, the funny thing is that when I used to start streaming out with Pixel, we were going to record stuff, and then he like, hold on a second, he's like, shut the he would yell at the kids, not swearing at them. He's like, can you guys go somewhere else, please? Like,
yeah, I didn't mean to chase Dalton off. It's just God bless him. He's got a lot of energy. He has a lot of energy, and you got to love that. But
he didn't chase him off. He just has a mental attitude where he has to reply to something if somebody says something.
Oh, I'm like that too. I get that. I get that. And he's one of the strengths, and I guess it can be a weakness as well. One of his strengths is that he is never at a lack for something to say. He's very good about relating to what people are talking about, so he can continue the conversation. But when there's four other people, and when Eric talks, Eric will say one sentence, and then Dalton wants to come in and respond to that one sentence, but Eric has 3 or 4 more sentences to say. And
can I just say this? I learned from my pa down there. It just be quiet and watch TV while you guys are talking.
Yeah. Now, again, Dalton, this is, he doesn't do this as much as the rest of us.
Yeah.
And I think this is, this is his time to shine.
Well, he gets excited about the topics too. I mean, that's not a bad thing. Sorry.
And I said, and I don't, it doesn't bother me when he, cuts me off after a sentence, because I said, this is, this, I said, this is like his showcase, and I'll eventually get to my point. Now, as I get older, the chance of me remembering it diminishes.
I know, right?
But that's my only concern. But no, it's I said, Dalton, if you're still out there and it wasn't your phone dying, come on back in.
Yeah.
Can I just say this?
Go on ahead.
For you old guys, write down your questions in case you can get a chance to speak.
Okay.
We should be keeping notes so we don't lose track of what
These
we're
are my
trying to talk
topics
about.
I want to talk about tonight.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I do feel bad. I feel bad because, I love Dalton. He's a great kid. Well, I mean, 30 years old, but it's all perspective.
That's a kid to me.
I know, right? And he's been a great part of this channel, and I feel bad. So, Dalton, once again, I apologize.
Man, the kids are growing up. I remember when they were like 20. Now they're 10.
Dalton can jab. We we started off, by the way, we're not being disrespectful at this point. At the very beginning, we did about an hour talking about Jim Shooter, and then it just kind of went on to be a regular live stream where we're just chatting about whatever.
Then it weirdly turned in saying that there's no fun comic books out today.
Well, it's
not true.
That's true.
You don't read a lot of stuff. You've said this. You read maybe a couple.
Do you know why? There's no fun comics out there.
No, because you will not read anything by Skybound.
I'm fucking with you, man. I'm fucking with you. Every time I say this, you jump in like, "Here I come to save the day. You should be reading Jeff Johns' the Red Coat or something like that."
Because I don't want people.
I can't get away. I can't even say it because most of the time we say it, it's just a throwaway, and you just no, and you jump in like
no.
Comics.
Because I get annoyed you say that because there's people who coming in who don't know that and think that you're just a curmudgeon.
Well, they think that anyway. They've heard me just chase Dalton away. The thing is when it's being said, you're right about one thing. We should not use words like no and all and all that.
Hey, Vagman, you ever notice how it's okay for E to crap all over new comics, but God forbid some poor kid finds the stream for the first time, craps on a superhero movie, and turns on Bitchlantine for 20 minutes of nonstop.
That never happened.
In defense, all the guy said is that I heard from the people. He didn't say I believe it. I just say I heard this, and you're like demon spawn.
That's exactly how he sounded. It was like if Miss Othmar were a demon from hell.
No Way Home, by the way. All right. There you go. Has anybody known about Jim Lee? What makes like a Dark Side Orion, Mr. M, or Bart at Infinite Man? I don't quite get that, Eddie. Those are all like Jack Kirby characters. Huh. I was like, Dalton, I had to learn, listen, then jab. You have Force One Love comics to read Transformers. I don't. That's actually something I never read either. I read a couple of.
Even think about it.
What?
The new Transformers are good.
Coco was debating whether or not to jump on the computer table. That's the one table I don't let her jump up on. She knows that. As much as a cat knows anything that doesn't involve doing whatever the fuck they want.
They know everything. They just pretend not to know.
Jim Lee, what? Oh, are you saying Jim Shooter because of Jim Shooter died today?
So
actually, we were about to do our show where we were going to talk about a great book called Fallen Angel. And that's what we learned.
Wikipedia has a whole list of characters he's created. Julia Carpenter, was part of because of Secret Wars. You had Paladin, Parasite, Princess Projecta, Lightmaster,
a lot of
yeah.
I mentioned that earlier. Karate Kid was
Henry
one of his
Peter
first.
Gyrick. Yeah. Graviton, Shadowless, yeah. Starbrand, Therock, Titania from Marvel Comics. Yeah. Exo Man of War was his big thing he did.
This is good. Let's go show that he created or co-created a lot of characters, be it heroes, supporting characters, or villains.
Yep.
Still say I'll put his Avengers run up against anybody's.
Fatal
He
5.
he wrote my favorite storyline of all time. So that's
Secret Warriors is I think he'll be always be known for.
yeah, but he wrote
than
the
being
quarterback
the guy
saga,
sitting-
which was off.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I said the best for
But
me.
I'm just saying, what most people know him for is other than Korvac Saga is the guy who single-handedly saved Marvel comic books from being redundant in the 80s, and also he did the Secret Wars.
Yeah, he'll always be best known creatively for turning a failed toy line into the first great company-wide crossover. Because whenever people say, what was better, Secret Wars or Crisis? The obvious answer is Crisis. But if you take the time to read Secret Wars instead of just dismissing it, it really was a lot better. Some questionable Johnny Storm dialogue notwithstanding, because it's quite dated when he says he'll tumble for you. But it's better than people think. But like I said, the Korvac saga is my Dark Phoenix story.
Yep.
I mean, the way X-Men fans revere that's how I feel about the Korvac saga.
Every time you guys say Korvac, I always confuse it with Avengers 200.
No,
I know it's a totally different character, but
that's where your mind goes.
Because I'm like, it's just too close.
Like I said, the only biggest regret is that George Perez either got sick or got caught up with deadline and couldn't do the last 3 issues art wise.
Oh.
And I would have loved for him to have gone back at some point. It might have been an insult to David Wenzel, but I would have loved to have seen him do his version of the last 3 issues.
The other
like a director's cut.
The other thing I remember the most about Jim Shooter, whenever he brings it up, is him arguing with George Perez over the DC versus Marvel thumb, going back and forth. No, we got to do this. Can't do this. Can't do this. And that's what caused it to come out till like way later.
Oh, it didn't come out until
2002?
2003, which would have been 15 years after Shooter was gone.
Yep.
But again, like I said, Shooter drove George Perez over to DC in the first place. So I'm not surprised. Putting them, I think Jerry Conway tried to mediate it. That just wasn't going to happen. And who ended up writing it?
Who ended up writing the Secret Wars?
No. Who ended up writing the JLA Avengers? I'm having a brain cramp. I know. I don't think it was Conway. I know it wasn't Conway.
Fabian Nicieza of this game.
Kurt Busiek.
Oh man.
So that's a damn good 4-part. I would have liked to have seen Jerry Conway's version of it. Yeah, because I said he was. I mean, they're still amazed at how many times I pop open a back issue from the 70s, and he was the writer.
I wonder in the early versions which actual heroes won the battles.
Oh, just like it was in 2003. They're all like probably non-winners. But the difference was, if it had been done in 1983, there would have had to have been some kind of plot device to either power up the Avengers or power down the DC heroes. But since it was done post-crisis, and Superman hadn't gotten all of his powers back yet. I mean, it's still kind of written closer to like the Byrne, Wolfman, Stern version. The DC heroes weren't, because like I said, Quicksilver can run 180 miles an hour. Flash can run at speed of light.
Imagine if it would have came out like right before his death. Superman's death? Like, right came around that time. Do you think they would have pushed off Superman's death?
Well,
they would have said that the story took place before.
well, it depends, because if you remember, when they did the Batman, or when they did the DC versus Marvel, it was Ben Reilly as Spider-Man.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
maybe
Because they were adhering to continuity of both companies, so they might have done. And it's like the Hulk had his intellect in that one.
Yep.
Even though by that time it was starting to fracture, but they kind of respected what was going on with the two companies. So that's
Superman hadn't died yet. Didn't die until like 94. Was it
92 or 3? I think.
Yeah, it was 92.
Yeah. If they would have, I'm just curious. So if they would have done not Secret Wars, but done the crossover, I wonder if DC were like, you know what, we're gonna push back Superman's death in comic books.
Or push back the crossover until we bring him back.
Yeah.
But yeah, because you really can't have a full-blown crossover without Batman and Superman. Without, of course, like I said, Marvel side didn't have their flagship character. Because that's one of the differences between, because at the time, Spider-Man wasn't an Avenger, nor was Wolverine. Yep. And they weren't in 2003 either, thank goodness, because, I said, have you ever read that, Beckman?
Which one?
The 4-part JLA Avengers?
No.
I mean, it'd take you a while because Roy Thomas,
I know,
was parsed his words compared to this, but
what do you think is longer, the DC versus Marvel or Infinity Gauntlet? Or Crisis?
DC versus Marvel takes about a 10th of the time to read as JLA Avengers. DC Marvel was more of almost like a precursor to A versus X. I mean, it was just like a showcase of of the heroes fighting and teaming up.
Was it Crisis Infinite Earths like super dialing?
Oh God, yes. Hell yes. Marv Wolfman channeled his inner Roy Thomas for that.
It wasn't Marv Wolfman. It was Roy Thomas the whole entire time.
It was Roy all along.
Cosmos has shut down all locations. It was a branch of McDonald's, and it was supposed to serve drinks. Cosmos? Which story was better, the reign of Superman or Dark Phoenix? Dark Phoenix.
Oh, Dark Phoenix. There's very little that was better than Dark Phoenix, and depending on who you ask, there's never been a better story. And I won't say that Korvac Saga was better than that. I just liked it better. Mm-hmm. Reign of Superman, that whole death of Superman and everything that followed for the next year or so was very well done. It was very tight continuity, and like I said, it's probably the best. It's probably the best Superman story of all time, I would say. If you just take the whole package, because that's one of the things when you talk about great runs, Batman's got a bunch.
Yep.
But when you think of Superman, you got Kryptonite, Nevermore or No More, whatever it was called.
Oh, Crisis Kryptonite?
No.
The Denny O'Neil one from 1971, where they basically depowered him, and that sand creature came to life that that looked like Superman. But as soon as he left the book, nothing that happened in that storyline was ever referenced again. Of course, you could probably say anything about some of the Batman stories because that's how DC was in those days. But there really aren't a whole lot of great Superman stories to point to because they all happened post-Crisis.
Yep, Crisis, Crimson.
But Death and Return of Superman are probably the best continuing Superman story that's ever been done.
Return to Lex Luthor after faking his death.
But they're not. It's not something that fans point to and say that. Oh my God!
Of course, you're not. But I'm just reading about Lex Luthor. How he did all this is just that's my Lex Luthor. I love that stuff. So I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with him in this current series stuff. Because he did turn over a new leaf, became a good guy. So
well, kids, it's 20-2.
It'll be fine.
It's also on 10:39 and where I'm at currently.
Which means I'm 3 hours older than you without just from being here.
Well, 60 years and 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for hammering that home.
No, wait, no, you're 60.
Wow,
I mean,
you're
like
60
30.
years older than
Yeah.
him?
The math ain't mathin'.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
either you're 90 or he's 10.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we can stop.
I said no. I mean, you guys, hell, you guys.
I
keep
have
going.
stuff to show off.
Yeah. Why do you gotta do that? Be a Debbie Downer.
Okay,
Yeah,
we
well,
can hang out.
I'm gonna go be old. So
Did
you
you
guys
feed
have
the
a great
cat?
rest of the stream.
Did you ever feed Coco?
Yes. Now I'm gonna go feed my pillow.
You have a good one. I saw the picture here.
Yeah.
If you don't mind my sharing it, usually I don't share tweets, but here you go. Apparently, our young friend here has some original art. Or there you go. So this is from Austin. I'm assuming he's giving me permission to share it, but there you go.
Well, too late.
That is pretty darn cool.
Well, you can zoom in on it.
The fact that he's rolling the Secret Wars #1, uncool. But
Oh wow.
yeah, there you go. That's
The
pretty.
fact,
Nice job,
he
Austin.
says it's a facsimile.
Oh, it's a facsimile. Hey, still, you know what? Still looks pretty cool. Yeah, yeah. Don't treat the
This,
the comic
that's
like that. Unroll it.
That's why I tell people: right click, save as, and then get it blown
Yeah.
up, and then you have an actual
Okay.
cover.
Yeah. Do y'all mind if I show off some books?
Sure.
Okay,
Go ahead.
More books that are good.
And that's all the time we have for tonight, guys.
Y'all have a great time, and remember, what are we doing? No.
Tomorrow,
That is, by the way, that is almost where my memory is.
the girls are back on the internet now.
Okay.
So if you want to do whatever they're going to do tomorrow, or whatever you're going to plan,
Whatever they want, either that or I'm going to throw up all over the place. No, I'm going to throw up something that I've got pre-made. I do have some set aside just in case we don't have a topic or anything. All righty. I got a collection in. 2 of the books were absolute trash, and I'm a little ticked off at that. But Sheena issue 0. This is one of the trashed one. Is this? Yep. Oh,
Yes.
so okay. These Sheenas, they're actually pretty good, but
Ashcan.
no, it's an actual comic. But as you can see, the
I wonder who the creative team is on that.
yeah, it's a horrible.
it's
probably
Top
this era wasn't this Marguerite Bennett?
I don't know,
During
but
that time?
everybody doesn't like that writer, but she's writing a good
Oh, she's consistently been good.
Oh yeah,
I-
very.
on
think
her. She's writing what's it called? Witchblade. You know.
Then this one also was one of the trashed ones, and it's Captain Atom #1, which I think sucks because this, by the way, not a lot of people know. This is the first appearance of Captain Atom like this, you know. So
Oh, I have the first appearance of him before that.
Oh,
you have the first appearance.
not
It's a like a 1.0, 2.0 probably. It's so beat up, but
Who
it's still
cares?
the first appearance.
It's
not
it's
to
probably.
mention-
Oh, sorry, Dominic. Go ahead.
Not to mention like the writer of the Captain Atom one miniseries is Greg Weisman before like he went into animation as a writer for said medium.
Man, Greg Weisman was a great guy until he went into animation, and he came back out as a lefty.
Indeed.
Austin Proctor here. Comics are meant to be read and handled. Y'all are prudes. Yes, I admit. I'm the first one to react when
Dude.
Doug put up one of his pizza and comics pictures, and he was reading. I think it was G.I. Joe #1 or something like that, and you could see the spaghetti sauce just right on the edge of the bowl, right near where he had that first issue at. All right, next up we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue #50.
I think it'd be funny if he just actually had the spaghetti and the noodle sauce on the actual page on there. And people were like, "What?" Yeah, Doug Ernst.
Savage Dragon and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh my gosh, the new Savage, not Savage, but Eric Larson art on the
No,
Spider-Man Wolverine.
this is new. This isn't new. This is old. This is back.
I know,
when
but I'm
everybody
saying
loved them.
his new art thing variant he did for Wolverine, it was a Wolverine and Spider-Man. It looked like Frank Miller.
Donald Duck Adventures, issue number 10.
Nice.
And should I put it in your box?
I was just thinking, it's like don't.
The way you did, that's usually like when we're showing at the end.
I know that's what reminded me of right away. I was like,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe like later tomorrow, like after the cover rankings.
All right, Ray Bradbury comics, number 1.
Yeah, I gotta call it a story.
And then Ruins. By the way, I like this. A lot of people do not like this book, but I do. It's a companion to the Marvels. Not a fan, huh?
No, I prefer
hold on,
Marvels
just
over Ruins.
Most definitely Marvels is better.
I don't put any tape on comic books. I don't care if it's archival tape. If the book's that point, I just put it away in the bag and board, and I just go online and read the digital copy. And I can zoom in and actually read the font. Because sometimes those old newsprints, man, they're so faded in the interior. I don't know how they get that way, but it's just like they're really light.
I found this when I had a cool Ollie's by my house. If you guys could get a hold of this, if you're a fan of Marvels, I recommend it. It's got a lot of these. It's got conspiracy in it. It's got the Wonder Man. It's got my favorite is a story called Code of Honor, which is an excellent story. But yeah, if you can grab a copy of that, it is a great trade paperback.
All original older Punisher like trade paragraph. Not paragraphs. Trade paperbacks are actually really cool. The softcover ones, they're hard to come by now. But
Doug really does his streams to promote his books now. So
for a while, as a Twitter, he was just basically like, I've been sitting on it for 3 years of just not doing about EVS's lives, and then he started like, yeah, remember he said this. Here's this.
Mm-hmm.
This, and it's just like, oh shit, he's just.
Oh. I love when Doug comes over onto the channel and we could just talk about old days. And these days, I'm willing to put EVS on blast, but I don't want the channel to become the anti-EVS channel. You know, it's like 1 or 2 videos, okay, but I don't want to do it constantly. Even though because we did that one video in my feed, I'm getting all sorts of that kind of shit, and EVS is nuts. By the way, all right, we have Betty and Me, issue number 34. I kind of steered heavy into the Archie.
Yeah, that comic took a weird turn when they had Betty White and Me.
That would be funny. Then we have Betty and Veronica, issue number 274.
The headbands. Yep.
Well, the
I learned that Zach does not like the headband Supergirl.
Zach. The World of Archie, issue number 485.
I just want to yell Zach the way Kirk yells Khan.
The World of Archie, issue number 461.
Who's the redhead? Is that Cheryl?
Cheryl Blossom. And then we have issue number 221. Now this one has water damage. I can feel it right here, and you can actually see it right there. But I do have a philosophy.
That's not water, buddy.
If you're going to get Archie when Betty and Veronica are in the bikinis.
As I said, that's not water stain.
Yep. Let's see. I will always get this one because this one will always sell, I believe. Superboy and Legion of Superheroes number 226. First appearance of Dawnstar.
Who to this day remains one of my favorite superheroes from DC.
Yep. She has a great story in the Tales of Legion of Superheroes where it's basically, what do they call it in Vulcanese? Pom Far, where he has to find a mate. Yeah, Dawnstar has a similar story in the Tales of Legion. I've sold that a couple of times.
The one issue in the Legion where she gets reparations from people stealing the land.
Yes. Guardians of the Galaxy, issue number 1.
Hey, the original Guardians.
Yes. From DC Comics in the year 1978, we have Battle Classics starring Johnny Cloud, Sergeant Rock, the Mysterious Man in the Iron Suit, and Jeb Stewart and the Haunted Tank. go.
Well,
And
Cliff Cornwall, no one wants it.
Simpsons Comic and Stories, the first appearance of Simpsons in comic book form. And it does have the poster.
I remember seeing those on the actual grocery store walls.
One of those EC comic reprints from the 90s, or in this case, 1984, actually. Panic, #1.
Oh, yeah, remember the Radiation Man one from Simpsons?
Yeah.
Those are those are like worth $1 now.
No. Oh, man. If you can find them for $1, please buy all that you can find. I will. I'll give you 2 each. Yeah, those sell, dude. Those go. Mod Wheels, issue number 18 from 1975. Cool. Next up, we have Battlefield Action from Charlton Comics. This is issue number 43 from 1962. This is Brain's Age. All right, next up, we have Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man from the year 1984. This is issue number 87. There you go. Let's see. It's fine, but his streams are pretty infrequent. But I like to hear what's the Doug. Yeah. Biblically accurate angle plushies. Oh, angel plushies. Yeah. No, there's no point. The dude is swirling down the drain. I know, right? Oh, a lot of people are mentioning the whole Comicsgate thing, especially after the that documentary. We did a couple of live streams about. Especially after that, the whole Comicsgate thing. Yep. We would like to roast them, but we don't have to. Okay, Superman #400. You know, I've had more Batman 400s than Superman 400s, and I think Batman's worth more. Go figure. I keep telling you guys I love movie adaptations, and this one is The Rocketeer.
Nice.
I know it is. This is fucking awesome. I love this cover, man. This is a great cover. It's a great book too, by the way, because it's a great movie. This is a sealed copy of Superman #75, The Death of Superman.
Yay.
And then we have Richie Rich Inventions. And the cool thing about this one, #1.
Didn't you show these off yesterday?
And then we have, I actually thought, I thought it was amazing to find one of these, but when I was able to find 2, or this is Political Power starring Rush Limbaugh. That is pretty damn cool.
I need an Action Comics 1000. Let me know if you can find those.
I don't think it's ever made it to 1,000. I think they canceled it, so it never did. Yeah, it never did make it to 1,000.
Hold on, I found one. I'm gonna send it to you.
This cover was done by Trimp and Abel, and it is from the year 1982. The Real American Hero. This is G.I. Joe issue #2.
Yes.
G.I. Joe was there.
Second issue into the Larry Hama run.
Okay, I got. I had 3 comics come in crappy shape. 2 of them were like, yeah, okay, I'll put them. I'll probably put them together for $1, but this one I think I could still maybe get $2, possibly 3. We'll find out. It is from 1974, and it is Swamp Thing #8
with a folded corner.
If it wasn't for that, I would have lost my when I did actually. I was like, whoa, oh, it was just like that. I was like, oh my god, damn, yeah.
Some of Austin's table fix that.
Yeah, I'll get Austin's. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, this is a great. This is iconic. This isn't just a cool cover. This is an iconic one.
I agree.
Yeah. So I was very much why. Oh, yeah.
It's so easy to come into something and think that the person talking about it actually is the expert, and you find out, oh no, this guy just took it over. EVS.
I'll say it's good to see some of the people who were CG on day one or involved, however you want to put it, to counter all the crazy noise. You guys are kind of the only historians of it. I know a lot of people think that EVS created it and the whole nine. No,
It's so easy when you have a panel of people who to back you up and say, yeah, this guy's correct. Yeah, he did it. Yeah.
Yep. I came into the Comicsgate thing after EVS took it. I followed him at the time, thinking he started it. Yep.
That's the thing about history. People forget it.
What about my table? Wait, what?
I don't know. I don't want his table. I want your tape.
I don't even notice Dominic replaced Derek, and it shocked the hell out of me. Well, he didn't. But Dominic was here. He just was really quiet. And by the way, I did send a message to not to the other Dominic. Why did I start that, Dom? I don't know what is wrong with me where I keep calling you Dalton and him Dominic. I think.
I know. You keep calling Pixel the other me, and I don't like that. There's only one of me.
Except
we're going to fight.
Here is Superman number 306 from 1978. A Bizarro story. And then we have Pat the Brat. This is an Archie comic. It's a Golden Ager, I think. No, it's not Golden Age. It might be early Silver.
I hate that book.
You do?
Yeah.
Is it because he's such a brat?
No, the Bizarro one.
Oh, the Bizarro. There you go. Never saw that before. And then we have from DC Comics, and this might actually be a Golden Age because it does not have a price. What do you call it? What am I trying to say?
A sticker?
Comics code sticker. Let me see if I can't find what year this is from.
I was surprised. I said I knew he didn't start it. I came back, and when Zach consistently did live streams around 2017, 2018, post Last Jedi. If you see his old streams, you'll see me in the chat. It's like people go to sports fans like, hey, look, you can see me on TV. There I am right there. I'm the top of that little head right there.
Oh, this is 1953. It's called Leading Comics. This is issue number 59.
Yeah, me and my brother went to a wrestling event in Chicago, and we were watching back on the recording. And I was like, "There's me. They can't see you because you're 2 feet shorter than me."
From 1967, I didn't know they gender swapped the Phantom. I didn't know there was a girl Phantom. But here is issue number 20 of the Phantom from King Comics.
Oh, there was like a brother and sister. I know that.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but hey, at least King Comics, 1967.
That one company, I think it's Hetch. They're basically like reprinting all of them.
This comic book is in fantastic shape. I'm very happy with it.
Are you happy?
Yes, I am.
There goes the E.
The some things will never die.
I'll never let them die. I'll never die.
This is World's Finest, issue number 130, and as you can see, it is in actually really good condition. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that first. Oh my God, we read the first issue of that World's Best Comics. I'm so glad they changed the title. But we read the Batman title in the issue where someone gets murdered. We're like, me and Pixel just made it. Eric Breed was murdered.
Let's see. I came in back when Zach constantly did live streams around 2000. Oh, okay. I watched CG stuff in late 2019. I was a high school senior and even attempted to make a Comicsgate comic out of my creative writing class story I read. May have made
it's also back when Yellow Flash, that umbrella guy, Edwin got along and did comic book reading roasts. And back when Jeff from WCBS.
Well, that was something that became a part of Comicsgate, according to what was going on. I separated myself from it. Obviously, they didn't want me. I didn't want them. I'm okay with it. But it became a bitch fest. It still continues today. They just want to complain. Go ahead.
I think it didn't become a problem though everything was going on. It didn't implode until they brought in War Campaign. You never would have brought in War Campaign. A lot of people would have never left the movement.
Mm-hmm.
It became just back, just psyop, politics.
This is Bunny from Harvey Comics.
Bunny.
Oh, nice.
The Lesters like that.
And it gets interesting from here on. I mean, I think it's been interesting.
But
since.
the best thing about the EVS and all them imploding is the fact that we got Common America out of it.
Oh yeah.
The Superboy 80-page giant number 10.
Yeah.
This is great shape too, guys.
Some of those memes, the word guys, the word campaigns chat. Ugh. Yeah. It's like, yeah, you talk about nuts. It's kind of about, it's like, bro, that is downright getting a little bit across the line.
Millie the Model annual number 11.
Ooh, who's measuring? Queen size. Dominic, no. Down. No, Dominic.
1974. He's like, mine. This is.
Yeah, I think Nick's going to be in jail for a while if he goes to jail. If he hasn't already yet.
This is from 1959. And it is Archie number 104.
Those pants, man. Everybody had those pants. Even World's Finest, they had those pants.
There you go. Gotta love the 1950s Archies. And this is 1960. I've never heard of this before. I've got to do research on it and see what it would be worth.
Those jeans. Those are wool pants. That'd be the most uncomfortable.
This is not in great shape because you can actually see the water stain and it's scraped on the bottom. It's actually missing parts of the cover. But this is A Date with Judy. And this is issue number 77 from 1960. So early Silver Age. There you go. And that is what came in today. And I've got a big ass box tomorrow as well. So
nice.
Yeah, a lot of fan, a lot of fun. I meant to say. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. But if you ask me, like both Marvel and DC, like they need to go back to like diversifying and covering different genres of fiction and not just capes.
Diversifying. Get out of here.
I agree with you absolutely.
That's Seattle talk.
They used to cover different genres of fiction.
I think what comic books currently need to do is take a page out of manga and just make stuff for everyone.
I also lurked a lot on Mike's stream and Weaponized Nerd Rage, which I think is when E would be on and had the Miracle Man Chibi avatar. Weaponized Nerd, he actually got his start on this channel.
Oh yeah, very much.
He and Comics Division, by the way. It was actually, at the time, it was Weaponized, myself, Comics Division, and Captain Frugal. We would always get together to do live streams. It was a great time. They were pretty good, yeah. I even hung out in War Campaign chat sometimes until it got way too nuts. That was pretty quick. Sometimes Nick Rakita, who I hope he gets. Yeah, I've got a little bit of Schadenfreude because of the thing, but ultimately, I do hope he gets his shit together. Yeah. Kind of, what's the word? Super discerning by nature with money used. So, yeah. Okay.
Remember this one?
Which one?
My avatar.
Oh yeah, that's Comics Division's old thing. Yeah, yeah, that is his. So
he's like, you can use it if you want. I'm like, sweet.
Yeah.
Why don't you just take back Comic Bake?
I don't want it. Right now, the words Comicsgate is so tainted right now. Yeah. Actually, when we did the debate, I was already saying that the name Comicsgate, the name's Comicsgate had been tainted to the point where it doesn't matter the point you're making. It was a one-word dismissal. Well, you could make the greatest point in the world, and they would go, "Oh, they're Comicsgate," and everybody else would stop listening to that great point that you're making. So
there never was a name before that. Until EVS decided to call it Comicsgate. There was no name.
Well, we were called Comicsgate before EVS grabbed onto it, but we never named ourselves that. That was what the outside forces called us.
What the media.
Yep.
Is what we refer to us.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want the name anymore. it's so tainted. I'm actually, in all honesty,
move the needle?
I have every couple of months or so, I have debates in my head as to whether or not I should abandon this channel and focus more on From the Longbox or something like that, because of the shadow ban. You know, it says I've got 18,000 subs, but I'm only making 100 views. That's a shadow ban, man. They're not sharing it out to everybody. So I thought maybe if I go to a channel that isn't like that, maybe it'll pick up again. So let's see. Funny, I think I actually saw Comics Division before I knew he was. I didn't start to really notice him until when Gary did his streams. Gary's about 1 million times larger than my channel, especially now. Let's see. I still like the idea of what guys like EVS was saying when they were trying to make CG into kind of like another Image Comics and all. Okay, here's the problem with that from the very beginning. And by the way, I mentioned this in the debate and was destroyed. Well, I wasn't destroyed, but nobody liked the idea because. Okay, that was my defense because they just. Okay, let me make point one before I go to the whistling. What I said was the Kickstarter thing, that's all good and well to get started, but you eventually, in order to beat Image, in order to beat Marvel and DC, or even become a competitor, you have to get into the shops. You have to get into the stores. Even if you do it organically, where you go to your local comic shop and say, can I put my books in your store for 50%, 60%? You know, if you did that, even get into the shops, grow your books, do it so you are actually on the shelves competing with Marvel and DC, or this will not work. And nobody liked the idea because, I mean, Rich just had a $1 million, I don't know if it was $1 million. Point being, he had very successful campaigns. And EVS at the time was late on delivering, but he made $1 million campaign. So it was looking like everybody could put their book up and it would be $1 million, you know. But I was saying, even still, because you're not just talking about monetarily, you got to talk about the cultural impact. And if you're not affecting culture, you're not competing with Marvel and DC in comics, no matter how well they do. You're doing your thing, and that's awesome. And I'll say this about Iconic Comics too, which I will never say an unkind word about. Iconic Comics right now is great. Maybe when Common America gets that anime and it blows up, there you go. But for now, yeah, you gotta get on their shelves, man. Let's see. Rhaegar says it's like Gamergate. It used to insult the victimized audience in the movement and then frame themselves as the offenders by the Access members. There's no taking back something that was meant to insult you. And that's, by the way, one thing that Richard did constantly. He went and argued with somebody, said something outrageous, and when they replied, he would bring it back to the group, and he would say, "See what they said about me? Well, you just went out and you called them this and this and this and this, and now you're playing the victim." That was Rich's game for a long time. Miracle Man always looked to me like he had a mouthful of Popeye's chicken and biscuits in that. Oh, yeah, because I had this smile on his. Yeah, that's what it was. There you go. Anyway, if you guys have anything to say about this, Dominic and or RDV, I just spoke a lot.
If you'd like to see yesterday's books, go back to yesterday's stream. You'll see the same books he was going to show tonight, but stop and start talking more.
No, that's not true.
What books do you have tonight? They're different.
All of them were different. Yeah, the books I showed. No, this is a whole new batch.
Because I remember you showed a whole bunch.
Yes, I did.
They said they were going to be in future auctions.
Yep, and these are going to be in future auctions as well. Yeah. And tomorrow I'm going to have a short box and hopefully another big batch of books to show off again. So,
do you hear Mazan Bond series confirmed? No Henry Cavill, Tom Holland, or Ezra, or the guy from Kingsman. All won't be Bond next. At this point, MK, cancel Bond, because all they're going to do is it's going to get worse and worse. Let Henry focus on doing his Warhammer. Let it be a big hit, because right now We don't need just put an IP out, just to make it shitty and make it ruin it for when people actually want to go watch it later. I say pause it.
I don't know.
I'd rather have no Bond than have a shitty Bond.
I can see if they're making a TV series, I can actually see why they wouldn't put Henry Cavill or Tom Holland or Idris Elba in it, because it's too much money.
I don't want a lot of the actors out there now. Idris Elba, even then, I don't want Idris Elba's Ed Bond. At that point, make him a different agent.
Yeah, don't do the race swap thing.
Yeah, I'm tired of that crap.
I think a lot of people are. I think it's just time. Let's move on. Let's not do that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Spider-Man Sam Raimi is coming back, released on September 25th. More screens cut.
Well, Discussing Film just said Elio was initially a queer-coded character until leadership told them to make him more masculine. Pixar massively changed it because nobody said they would pay to see it. Wow.
I saw that on what's his name? Clownfish TV was saying that too.
Yeah, I watched it. It was not bad. It has problems. Don't get me wrong, but it's not as bad as everybody's making it out to be. But then again, I said the same thing about what was it? The Red Panda one. I said you're watching like not Tales of the Fourth Grade. Nothing. What was it called? Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. This is a movie about 12-year-old girls going through their first periods.
This is fighting words to you.
They shouldn't have stopped Bond when the Berlin. They should have really. Wow. Okay. 1980s. You would have missed the entire.
Roger.
Look, I get it. Don't you? No, it would have been Pierce Brosnan.
Well, no. When did Berlin fall? Because
1989. Even both Timothy Dalton movies were out by then.
I was gonna say there was 5 years in between. They didn't have a Bond anyway. Yeah.
Yep. I know. Anyway, guys, it is getting late here, and I still have to wake up and take my wife to work, which is becoming a chore more and more every day. Today, I spent 6 hours in the car. I don't want to get in the car. Again. I'm just so tired.
Do you at least have like air conditioning in the car?
No. So yesterday was worse. We drove an hour to the show and then an hour back. Today I drove out to the airport, an hour and a half there, an hour and a half back. But when I got back, I had to take Ashley to the dentist, and then I had to go pick up Gail, and then we had to go pick up Ashley, and then we had to go no air conditioning, no hair, except for on my arms. Yeah.
No.
By the way, my arm got really tanned. By the way. You can tell
because hanging out the window.
You can tell which one hangs out the window, can't you?
Yeah. So you have no heat in your car. You also have
that's all I got in the car in the summertime.
No, yeah. I mean, in the winter though.
No, actually, we do have heat in the winter. It's just the air conditioner doesn't work. So.
Yep. Well, that's when you must have got that fixed because you're saying you guys were freezing to death.
Yeah. No. The what happens is we'll just hit the button for the fan. And when we're dry, like if I'm sitting in the car, I'm freezing. If we're moving, the fan actually converts the heat and we'll get a little bit of heat in the car. So.
Do you just not know how to operate it?
Yeah. Oh, no. I don't know how to fix it. I know how to operate it, but I don't know how to fix it.
I hope so.
Left arm Trump, right arm power. Yeah, need a link to scans of new Teen Titans cover scans. I take them from Comic Vine. I go to Comic Vine and just put in search Teen Titans and it'll take you there.
Comic Vine, DC Fandom.
Yeah, that'll do it. The problem with DC Fandom is that they come up web rather than JPEG. So
yeah,
not always.
Oh yeah, always.
I don't know. I just try to get a lot of mine.
Really? Well, yeah. Okay. Then
otherwise,
I'm doing that wrong.
Otherwise, I'll just say this: go to comics or Comixology or on Amazon. Type in the title, and you can actually sometimes you just right click and save as the actual. They're in HD.
There we go. All
You look
right.
like you got someone else's arm grafted to him in China.
I know, right? Yeah. This one right here is going to go on a murderous rampage or something like that. Yeah.
It's more like you got frostbite, and that one's going to take that arm off.
I don't have heat. I mean, I don't have air conditioning, so the window's down, and this arm is either hanging out or it's on the side or whatever, and it's getting cooked. My daughter, who has been driving this entire weekend to the airport from and so forth, she's got the opposite problem, but she's got the same problem.
See, wait till you hit that first B while you're driving, and it hits your arm.
Oh, that already happened. I live in the country, remember?
For this live stream to be over.
Dominic, if you need to go ahead.
Yeah, man. Do you need to check out? We can check out.
I don't need to get yelled at.
Yeah. I think, he's hanging out with family, but I get it if he needs to go.
You're a grown man. You make your own decisions.
All righty.
Until you get yelled at.
All right. But yeah, tomorrow I'll do another unboxing thing tomorrow night at the cover rankings, whatever we do. A lot of stuff going on. And let's see, on Wednesday, same thing. I have no idea what we're doing as far as cover rankings, but I do have stuff that are set aside just in case. I made them a while ago. Alex Ross miniseries, Jonah Hex. I've got that I just made.
Originally, you're going to do a Weird Western War Tale or Weird Western.
Yeah, that was the Jonah Hex. You want your video to be Jonah Hex 1 through 12. So I could throw that up tomorrow, and we could do that.
And then you're talking about Wednesdays would just be like because the girls aren't going to be there. So, but
Okay.
maybe actually I can reach out to them and see exactly what they wanted for theirs.
Yeah, they give me.
I thought they originally said we did Katie Keene. We did that one.
Well, they wanted to put together. These are our favorite comic book covers. So yeah.
I know we did the band one.
Okay, hold on. You guys are talking about popcorn buckets. Jaws, its 50th anniversary is out, and they've got this giant shark popcorn bucket. I've never wanted to buy one before, but I saw that. I was like, I don't want that. I need that.
I actually saw it. Oh, well, when a friend and I went into the movie theaters to watch Megan 2, and it's really cool.
It really is.
Yeah.
I got a good idea. We'll release Evolution in theaters again, and the popcorn bucket will be a giant butthole.
There you go.
Come
you
on.
know what? These are the ideas other people they should be thinking about.
But also,
Is that way you're fisting your popcorn bucket every time you get a box?
Vigman, our friend
Yeah.
turn in for the night.
You guys have a great
our
time. I think he's talking about me. But let me be honest with you. What's going to happen is I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to slowly go to sleep. Or I'm not one of those people who can get dip. No, it's never like that. So I don't mind staying up a little bit. I got the Megan one. I haven't seen that yet.
The Megan popcorn bucket.
Is it her torso?
No, that's actually her head. Her head, but her face is removable. Like, you can actually pour your popcorn in her head.
Okay, there you go. Join us tomorrow, kids, for the 10:30 cover ranking. Also, Wednesday, same time. But before the cover ranking, check out, hey, these comics are coming out at the Geeky Puppet Show.
You can never remember it.
I can't remember shit. You know that.
Top 5 is at 9 p.m. Eastern. Check it out.
And there you go, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. And God rest and God bless Jim Shooter's family and so forth. I hope they're doing well and holding up as best as can.
My question is, who's next?
And thank you very, very much for watching. Have a good day. Night.
See you all later.
Who's taking after his books after he's now